Yo, sorry about that. I went AFK for a second. I had to get some more water and stuff before I started up. How's it going, guys? Hope you all are having a great morning, afternoon, evening. Welcome to the cast. Damn, I'm sorry. I'm coming back slowly. Woo! I just did some meditation stuff, and I'm like slowly getting my grounding again. I'm slowly. What up? How's it going? Hope you all are well. I have a somewhat fun plan today, involving research and school. Not precisely school, but homework. PogChamp, right? I have a few video ideas that I want to do things on, and I need to understand the topic. So I figured, why not do that with Twitch chat? It may be a good live discussion, may spark some interest in some of you guys. Figured there was no harm in it whatsoever. Oh, whoops, I just clicked the wrong button. But yeah, so first we have to tweet out. We'll do that. I haven't tweeted out that I'm live yet. We went up in quite a few followers today, honestly. Wait, what? Says esports are so cool. I actually love that. I actually dig that. Esports are so cool, dude. Glid. Wait, his name is Clid. No way, his name is Clid. That's fire, dude. Is he CSGO player? He's on Genji. Or Gen-G. One split in NA where there are three big, hard, and balls. Okay, what with Clid? Oh, okay. Alright, cool. So yeah, let's tweet. Discussing rage in video games. And, what do you guys want to say? If adrenaline is even something you can control? I don't know. That sound okay? I have no clue, dude. Fuck it. Let's post a photo, though. We need a photo. We need a photo, chat. I don't know what photo I want it to be, dude. Fuck. I don't know what to say. Chat, I don't know what to say. Or what to do. I don't want to do the same three faces that I always do. Maybe we just post that. No picture. Uh-oh. Music's gone. Uh-oh. There we go. Saved. PogChamp. 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 But yeah, man. I have no clue. Maybe we just don't post a photo today. Maybe we just let it be. Let it sit. Dude, Twitter's so bad. Alright, cool. Discussing rage in video games and if adrenaline is even something you can control. I'm if interested. I'll keep that out. Fuck it. Send it. I don't want like a shitty GIF or anything. What is the meaning of life? Fucking gaming. You fuckers who said sex. Loser said sex, man. I would just sit here, I would fill local TV ads and consume the country's settled disputes with constant gunfire. Why would you want to shoot Obamacare? It makes no sense. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Fuck Twitter. Alrighty. So are we ready to begin? Oh, is the music really quiet? Here we go. It's really loud for me. Here, maybe if I give you a little bit more of a level here. Boom. Bam. Bada bing. So yeah, maybe we play some games later. This is really just a chill way for me to do research that I was going to do off stream, but I'm doing it on stream. PogChamp. And we could discuss it. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know. Ba, 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 ba. Alright, sorry. So we tweeted. We did everything we needed to do. We sent it to Discord. Now we just, you know, return to Monkey. PogChamp. Alrighty, chat. Here we are. You guys can see yourself. Let me pull up the notes. I think it was flow state. Was that it? Yeah. Boom. Bada bing, bada boom. Let's put this font down just a bit. Alrighty. So what exactly am I going for today? Well, I am making a video on rage in video games and like how to understand rage in like a competitive environment. Like, you know, everybody's grinded the ranks before. Everybody's been pissed off before. I've slammed a desk or two. I've broken a controller or two before. And I mean, even if you haven't, you've probably felt very annoyed or very demoralized with a video game. And from a competitive standpoint, that's not something you want ever. Ever. You never want that. Just because it's going to stop you from playing. And the more playing you get, the better you get. It's literally that simple. It's that exponential. The more you play a game, the better you get. Until you're at a certain level. But for most of you, and this is who I'm addressing, I'm not addressing pro players. I'm addressing the people who are trying to climb out of silver. I'm addressing the people who are really are stuck in plat. You get better by playing the game more. And there's almost this bracket anxiety that I've had before for sure. That is started with just, well, I don't want to deal with the pressure or the adrenaline that comes with playing a competitive scenario. No one wants to be left in the 1v5, right? With expectations on them. No one. You're playing a video game. It should be fun. And they can stay fun. It really depends on, you know, competitive games aren't for everybody, right? Some people love that. Other people hate that. Some people just want to be better than others and hate that. And I'm going to be real with you. I don't think there's a room for both. You either suck it up and get better, or you keep sitting there and being like, I want to be better than people, but I'm not putting in the effort. You have to put in the effort to get good at anything to begin with. And that goes for video games as well. You don't just naturally get better. You have to put in effort. But again, one of these things is flow states and anxiety. And like, can you actually have a better outcome in a clutch situation, right? And I think realistically, this is my hypothesis going in with no research, is that we're going to come out of this thinking, no, there isn't. You enter a clutch situation, the only thing that's going to determine if you are good in that clutch situation or bad is how long you've played. There's nothing you can do in your brain to be like, what the fuck? I'm not going to ask you to meditate. Like, oh, guys, you're in a 1v5. Now just take a deep breath. Like, no, that's unrealistic as fuck. It really comes down to, in my opinion, to how much you're fucking playing, right? If you're stuck at Bowser throws and you've encountered Bowser throws 80 fucking times, you're probably going to do a lot better. But there's nothing you can do mentally that's going to change the outcome of that. So, that being said, we have a few articles here. Some on flow state, which is something very interesting to competitive like environments and video games specifically. Anger management within sports, allowing yourself. This is where rage comes in. Stress and distress, and then choking under pressure, adrenaline in sports, and life stress. All of these things can play into you being a better or worse gamer, right? Think about it. Got shitty stuff going on outside of whatever game you're playing, you're probably not going to perform the best. And that just happens. It's not your fault. You know, it's just part of the equation, I guess you could say. But yeah. All right. Shit. So I think I'm just gonna take a lot of looks at these articles, and I'm probably gonna. So that's our sources one. This is where we're just gonna put our notes. No, I don't want that. I just want the link here. Boom. Maybe we flip on some better music too. Something that's not as memey. Put on the sewer slut. Shit like this is really interesting to me. There we go. That should be good. Alrighty, so here we go. First article. What up, Mission? How's it going, man? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Long time no see. Hope you are doing well. Here, let me pop chat over here. If I'm going to look on the articles up here, we got to move chat over. Shit. But yeah, I don't know. I think generally we're going to find through this is that there's no way to really control. You can control anger, right? Through just like things external from like being in the moment of the video game, right? Like that's purely external shit, and external matters. I think in terms of being able to like be better at a clutch situation, it's not gonna make a difference. And yeah, I think it's very what we're gonna find is gonna be a lot of just like play the fucking game. That's what it's gonna say. All right, here, let me move. Life stress, adrenaline. So we're going for life stress. This is life stress and influences of life stress. I don't think we need to spend as much time on this. I'm just interested in checking this part out. Actually, let's go for one a little bit more interesting. I think choking under pressure is a good one. This was a study done in, I think it's like some, yeah, in Germany. Some psychology and sports science place in Germany. What's going on? I'm working on the contents of a YouTube video. I'm doing a little bit of research before I, write the script out. Basically kind of talking about like understanding like rage in video games, like when you get mad at something, and like stress management, like how to better handle yourself in a competitive environment, whether that be, a PB race or like competing on a stage or something like that. Like this could be applied to sports. This could be applied to video games. But I'm using it through the lens of video games because I feel like there's not a lot said about that. And everything that is, it's like, there's videos like, look, here, look. Like, handling nerves when gaming. Look how just cheesy a lot of this shit is. How to overcome anxiety and nervousness in games. None of these videos say anything. Like, hardly anything. Like, dude.
In a minute. But first, I want to get on the same page of what nervousness or anxiety is and what the meaning is. So the official dictionary...
Basically, he's just telling you to meditate. That's probably what it is. How is that cringe? Okay.
They were always constantly thinking about things, anxious thoughts, here and there. Like, it's just... Our minds always.
He's trying to apply these things, and that's really the only way to apply these things, right? Is like in a grand scale, right? You can't really give things that are going to specifically help video games when you're trying to talk about mindfulness and nervousness. But I'm not going to hide behind like this, like how to avoid tips from pro gamers, like, and they're all just so corporate. They're very like poorly edited videos.
Regardless of the game you play, these opportunities are ones you're biologically influenced to skip over, causing you and most other players...
Like, it's 200,000 views. Videos. No, the corny... Oh, I guess, yeah, sure. Stopping me from improving. I practice, but I waste time because I'm focused on being mad instead of fixing my issues. And so that's kind of what I want to draw things to, but I want to draw it in a much more of like a... educated manner, in almost like I wouldn't say case study, but I guess you can call them case study videos where there's actual like a certain level of research behind these things or a certain level of understanding that in a lot of these other ones, like, it just doesn't get across. Like, those things just don't get across. It's just like, don't be mad. And it's like they say it in such a weird way, too. I don't know. So we're trying to look on that and research that and make it funny. So the abstract here is understanding and predicting how individuals perform in high-pressure situations is of importance to designing and managing workplaces. We investigate performance under pressure in professional darts as a near-ideal setting with no direct interaction between players and a high number of observations per subject, analyzing almost 1 year of tournament data covering 32,000 darts thrown. We find no evidence in favor of either choking or excelling under pressure. Exactly. There's not much you can fucking do. And I know that's not the answer that people are going to want, but there really is like hardly anything you can do. And again, the only thing will be put more hours in, because you may have seen that scenario more and you may be able to react to that scenario. All right. Introduction. The effect of pressure on human performance is relevant in various areas of society, including sports, competitions, political crises, and performance-based payment in workplaces, to name but a few. A broad distinction differentiates between effort and skill tasks. Success in effort tasks is dependent on motivation to perform, while skill task outcomes underlie precision of often automatic execution. See? We're not doing effort tasks. We're doing skill tasks. You need to have automatic execution. You need to have the hours in to understand what you're doing. Let's do... There we go. For effort tasks such as counting digits or filling envelopes, individuals will typically respond to increased pressure, e.g. resulting from performance-related payment schemes by investing more effort, which, given the nature of such tasks, will improve their performance. However, the literature on the impact of pressure on performance in skill tasks, i.e. juggling a soccer ball, is inconsistent and effectively divided into two different strands of research. On the one hand, the existing literature related to potential choking under pressure indicates broad agreement that performance in skill tasks declines in high-pressure and decisive situations. This is true. An individual is said to be choking under pressure when the performance is worse than expected given their capabilities and past performance. While there may also be random fluctuations in skill level, choking under pressure refers to systemic, suboptimal performance in high-pressure situations. The associated empirical findings, both such that are based on experimental data but also those using field data, consistently confirm a negative impact of pressure on skill tasks. On the other hand, and to some extent in contrast to the literature related in choking under pressure, the literature related to choking under pressure, the literature related to the concept of social facilitation refers to potential negative but also potential positive effects of social pressure on performance. Depending on circumstances associated with performance, the social facilitation literature explicitly incorporates characteristics of the task and individuals' levels of expertise into their analysis, and generally states the circumstances surrounding performance play an important role regarding the impact of pressure on performance. These are big words, dude. It's very hard to follow a lot of these things, I will say. But I mean, it's not that complex, but still. Existing contributions focusing on potential choking are largely neglected. The corresponding, more comprehensive picture drawn by the social facilitation literature. This music, I can't focus. Wait, so it's saying social facilitation literature socially incorporates characteristics of the task and individual's level of expertise into their analysis. So it's basically saying, yeah, like if you're really good at something, you might be better under pressure versus if you're really bad at something or like you just starting something, you're probably not going to be as good. And this is what I was saying before. If you haven't been faced with that situation before, then like you're going to like perform very poorly. It's like playing CS:GO, right? I'm sure you guys can all relate to some sort of shooter game, being in some sort of like clutch scenario and being in a position that you have sat in before and find it really easy to get headshots when it's like a 1v3 versus playing in a situation where you are very uncomfortable and you have a lot of angles that you're not used to holding, and it becomes a lot more stressful. I even felt this yesterday. I was playing some CS:GO yesterday night, and I felt there was 2 clutch situations that I had. One of them was a 1v3, and one of them was a 1v2, I think. I handled the 1v2 very easily. I mean, it was a little weird, but I was able to kind of get it down, just because I felt like I was in a better situation, in a better location, and something that I've played before, a position that I've played before. And while the exact circumstances may not be the fucking exact same, especially in multiplayer games, while the circumstances may not be the exact same, there's still like a new map 1v3s are terrifying. On Dust 2, easy. Exactly. So I felt very weird. I'm sure you remember this when I got mad. This goes into rage as well, because my adrenaline was beating the fuck out of my chest and I got really mad. And you might remember this from yesterday. Was when I was sitting on like boxes on B site in the boxes at the very start, and the guy came through doors and the guy came through windows, and I was just so fucking thrown off because there was so much. I was not a position I was used to holding. I didn't know how to keep my cool in that situation. Whereas like sitting back on fucking like the high rise thing is, it's so much easier because I'm prepared for that situation. Or sitting by car, I'm prepared for that situation of like where people are going to come from. And I think that's what the social facilitation is. Yeah, like it refers to potential negative but also potential positive effects of social pressure. Because at a higher level, like if you're a fucking pro and you have a lot of pressure on you, you're going to zone in. You're going to hit your flow state. For me, I'm like, what the fuck is going on? What the fuck is going on? And it's like, it really just is how prepared you are or how much practice you have in that situation, right? Like if you have, like, this is separate from aim, right? This is completely separate from things like aim. This is just in terms of like processing what is in front of you and what situation is playing out and how to address that situation. Because they said this earlier. Skills tasks are typically, what was the quote? Success and effort tasks is dependent on motivation to perform, while skill task outcomes rely on precision, often automatic execution. So skill tasks, like I guess aiming could be a skill task. I would say like just understanding like the way that like the game is moving. Most of what we do in video games is skill tasks. We're hardly ever really putting effort. Right? Effort task is like, can you run a mile and a half and finish it and be like motivated to finish it? So this is pretty much, I think in this scenario, everything we do is skill tasks. Like everything for video games, which I think is how I'm going to address this piece, because I don't think there is any exertion of effort within any form of video gaming. Mental effort, sure, but physical effort, I think, is what they're trying to talk about, dependent on motivation to perform, right? Like, I'm tired, I need to, like, you saw this when we were playing, like, high school sports. Dance Dance Revolution, sure. But I think, like, high school sports is even better, right? Like, when, like, a skill task would be, like, how good your shot is under pressure, right? Like, can I get the ball into the back of the net, or can I get the ball in the net under pressure? Versus an effort task being like, you know, final 5 minutes of the game, you're dead fucking tired, and you're going to bust your ass to the other side of the field because of all the social pressure of like for you to root you on, right? And so that's why motivation comes in for an effort tasks. Exactly. It's totally endurance, and that's where motivation plays a role. But yeah, so I think in terms of video games, everything is a skills task. Everything is like, have I played the situation before, and can I manipulate the situation in the way that I want to manipulate it, or like put it into like the position that I want to be put in. Hey, let's turn on like I have chill ambient copyright free. Fire. Ew, this song's trash. Bro, fuck this, but whatever. What is this doc? Can you send on Discord? Oh, this is just a writing. I'll send it. I'll have all of my sources. I have all my sources and everything here, so I can send everything later. I'm not doing it now though. I'm focused on this. But in a bit for sure. Yeah. So I don't like this. I don't know. Is there like like all of this music sucks dick. Whatever. I don't really give a fuck. I don't care. Whatever. We move on. So yes, as I was saying, we're focused on skills tasks, which require precision of often automatic execution, which means lots and lots of practice. I don't care about dark ambient. I don't want anything darker. The effective wait, we were down here. Right? Related to concept of social facilitation refers to potential negative but also potential positive effects of social pressure on performance. This is what we were saying. A lower end player, a silver player that I would be addressing in these videos, often will not see any benefit out of a clutch situation of this pressure, right? Because of the fact that they are often just very ill-equipped for what's supposed to happen, right? Or like what is expected to happen. There's also one that we'll talk about that we'll see it later about ego and how that will play into things like that, right? Like if you go into a situation confident, it basically like cuts this like social facilitation idea off, and like you can honestly perform incredibly well if you're just confident that you're going to perform well in that situation, rather than being like nervous and be like, fuck, I'm fucked, right? But yeah, so existing contributions focusing on potential choking have largely neglected the corresponding more comprehensive picture drawn by the social facilitation feature. This is basically saying basically everything that's been said doesn't take into account skill level. It just says that there are benefits of pressure. By simply relating performances decrements to changes in the execution of actions or simply distraction generated either by rewards of case succession or potential penalties in case of failure. Oh wait, okay, never mind. A case of success. Sorry, I can't read, guys. I'm very tired. I want this down lower. Very loud. The music good? The music sound okay? We're chilling. Boom, bada bing, bada bam. All right, cool. All right. Let me pull up chat. Sorry. Our empirical investigation of individuals' performance in pressure situations is based on a large data set from a skill task, namely professional darts, comprising 32,274 individual darts thrown for a comprehensive empirical test of performance under pressure. For the professional darts players analyzed in this study, playing darts is a full-time job. The top players regularly earn prize money exceeding €1 million per year. Goddamn, for fucking darts, dog. In professional darts, highly skilled players repeatedly throw at the dartboard, and okay, we get that. The amount of data is available on throwing performances not only allows for comprehensive inference on the existence and the magnitude of any potential effect on pressure of performance, but also enables to track the variety of effect or variability of effect across players. Sweet. Choking would suggest that performance of professional darts players declines in high pressure situations. So yeah, this is basically, I think this is going to talk a lot more about how you being top tier is going to make you ultimately a lot better at, being able to like handle your situation, right? Because they're saying like that a lot of other, God damn it, this music is so distracting and bad. What the fuck is this? Whatever, I don't, okay. However, when considered the highly standardized we do not expect dart players to choke under pressure. The paper is structured as follows. Section 2 reviews the literature on performance under pressure, and in particular details what we consider to be advantages of the darts setting with respect to investigating performance under pressure. In Section 3, we explain the rules of darts and define what constitutes pressure situation in darts. Section 4 presents the empirical approach and the results. We're not going to go through this entire thing, but we'll definitely look at it. Holy shit, there's a lot. I think darts is a very good analogy because it's something that's not that physically exerting. And all of these were taken in a closed scenario. So these are things that you can apply to like taking something that a professional basketball player does or professional football player does a lot harder, right? Because those are all effort-based tasks and not skill-based tasks. I mean, shooting and things like that are, but there's still a lot of reliance on effort-based tasks and how people are going to perform in those situations. On top of that, most of them have live crowds. So in this situation, there aren't any live crowds. There's nothing like incredible in relation to how big the crowds are. So a lot of this is just like on TV or whatever, you know. All right. Terminology. Pressure results from the individual's ambitions to perform in an optimal way in situations where high-level performance is in demand. Performance under pressure could, in principle, go either way, i.e. high expectations towards the own performance could impact the performance in a negative way or a positive clutch way. Oh, damn, we're talking about choking and clutching, dude. Let's go. They use the terminology that I was expecting, that I want to use. Nice. Or not at all. To measure the impact of pressure, performance in pressure situations is compared to performance in non-pressure situations. Choking under pressure refers specifically to a negative impact of high performance expectations, while clutch performance is described as any performance increment or superior performance that occurs under pressure circumstances. Okay. Potential effects of pressure. The impact of pressure on performance crucially depends on the type of task to be performed. We already read this, I thought. Tasks can be such that performance is determined mostly by effort, or alternatively, tasks can be such that the skill level is a key factor for success. For effort task, pressure situations result in increased effort and hence improved performance. For skill tasks, performance has been demonstrated to be both impaired, choking and increased clutching by pressure, or not affected at all. So this is, again, we're focused on skill tasks. While the effective pressure on effort tasks is obvious and well documented, in skill tasks, the potential psychological factors at play are likely more complex, such that we focus on these tasks in the following. Choking under pressure in tasks, in skill tasks may be related to various drivers. In particular, different skills may make use of different memory functions, namely explicit and procedural memory, respectively. Explicit memory enables the intentional recollection of factual information, while procedural memory works with the conscious awareness that helps at performing tasks. So procedural, okay, so explicit is what we know already, right? What you've learned, like spray pattern. Let's say spray pattern for explicit, whereas procedural is the position of the character, right? So you can know how to handle your AK spray, but where is that person going to swing on the plane when they swing out, right? And it's like, okay, that's your procedural memory. Gotcha. I'm going to clip this. So I'm just trying to take a bunch of quotes. Like I'm reading this for my own what do you call it? For my own info, like for my own I want to, right? I'm forgetting words right now. I'm sorry. I'm not intending to like use. I may use examples from these things if I feel that they are of use, but really it's just so I can write a better script. So a lot of the quotes that I'm taking, I can work with, right? And like I'm trying to make this as simple as possible, right? Because like yeah, I could sit here and I could read this entire thing. I can make a video that's incredibly complex about the inner workings of the mind in pressure situations, but I'm not gonna fucking do that. This is for people who, like, you know, are struggling to get a sub 20, not, like, scientists. It's supposed to be interesting and digestible, not incredibly complex. All right. Yikes. Dude, I hate this, like, trap shit. Fuck it, we'll just do lo-fi. You know what? Don't I have like a have a pretty good Spotify playlist I think I could use. First thing that pops up. Let's go. I don't give a fuck. We're the lo-fi kids now. Uh-oh. Monka yikes. Okay. Man. Alright, is quality good? We're chilling. Uh-oh, we're effing a little bit, I think. I don't know. Okay. Did I clip that? Did I do what needed to be done there? Okay, cool. 2 classes of attentional theories capture choking under pressure, distraction theory, and explicit monitoring theories. Some authors argue that distraction and explicit monitoring theories are not necessarily mutually exclusive, but rather complementary. Distraction theories claim high-pressure situations to harm performance by putting individuals' attention to task irrelevant thoughts. Put in a nutshell, individuals concerned about 2 tasks at once. Since the situation-related thoughts add to the task to be performed. Given the restricted working memory, individuals' performance declines as focus is drawn away from the main task. So, claim high-pressure situations to harm performance by putting individuals' attention tasks at relevant thought. Okay. And I get that. I don't feel like it plays too much of a role. Like, this is nothing of... Like, this isn't informative for us. We don't need that. On the other hand, self-focus or explicit monitoring theories explicitly predict that pressure increases self-conscious to a point where it harms performance over attention. That is helpful to us. This is very helpful to us, right? You've ever been in a clutch situation, you've been like, I don't want to fucking, I'm in a clutch situation. And then you're like, you're like, your heart rate's rising. And you're like, wait, why is my heart rate rising? I'm in a very tense moment. That's why. Oh, shit, wait, if I do this, I could save a lot of time. Oh, if I do this, I could win the game. Oh, if I do this, that's the over-attention, right? You're like, okay, now I need to handle this, right? So let me focus on every turn of my crosshair. It's like, no, just play the fucking game. Not saying you're an idiot for it, because everybody does it, but that is it's a big thing. It can cause skilled performer to deviate from routine actions, exactly. Instead, closer attention is paid to single processes of performance and their step-by-step control. Big. We'll clip that as well. Boom. This ties in with the concept of skill acquisition. When initially learning a skill, performance is controlled consciously by explicit knowledge as actions are executed step by step. Over time and through practice, thorough practice, skills become internalized and usage of conscious control decreases. I'm going to use the spray pattern analysis there again and say that that's where I guess you could say it is. How much does this tie into confidence? We'll talk about this later. This is just separate of like on your actions, your ability, how much time and effort you put in. And I think ultimately, like, no way, bro, I'm not listening to this. I'm not listening to Cantina Band. Star Wars Lo-Fi? The fuck is that? We're not addressing that yet. This is purely just like ability. Over time and through practice, skills become internalized and the usage of conscious control decreases. Pressure can interfere with this now automated control process of skilled performers. So, like, I would say Bowser throws. I guess you could say, like, you could really say anything. Bowser throws is a really good way to look at this if you understand Super Mario in any way, right? Like, Bowser throws are something that I've practiced a ton of time. A ton, to a point where, like, I should have it down and be able to throw it every time perfectly, right? Like, I could load in, well, maybe not right now because I've been gone for a few months, but for a while I was able to load in because I would spend hours upon hours just practicing the throws. And that allowed me to, but now with Bowser throws, sometimes it becomes very, very hard because it's like the very end of a run, the potential for a new record, a new PB. And so then you start to really think about it, where it really should just be automated. And I'm letting my brain take control. I'm letting my brain take control of my fingers when I shouldn't. You should just be doing it, right? Like that's because ideally, like in general, you're thinking about other things when you're, pushing out on a site in CS:GO. You're focused on so many other things than your aim. But in that clutch situation, you're really focused on your fucking aim. And then you realize that you don't focus on other things. And that's why it always seems like when that adrenaline kicks in, you're like, what the fuck happened? I don't understand what happened. You have no clue. Under pressure, actions are no longer executed automatically as attention is redirected to task execution. The overall sequence of actions is broken down into step-by-step control, as in early stages of learning, resulting in impaired performance. Consequently, individuals consciously monitor and control a skill they would perform automatically in non-pressure situations. Exactly. So, like aim, or Bowser throws, or whatever else you really want to put it to. Other potential effects. An alternative strand of literature suggests that pressure situations do not inevitably affect performance in a negative way, but also may have a positive impact on task performance, or no effect at all. The corresponding notion of social facilitation is one of the oldest paradigms within experimental social psychology. Generally, social facilitation refers to performance enhancement and impairment effects engendered by the presence of others, either as coactors or more typically as observers or an audience. So streaming. So social facilitation isn't okay. Never mind. A potential theoretical explanation for the opposing effects of audience in a social pressure facilitates dominant behavior. Dominant behavior refers to the kind of response which is more likely correct or incorrect in case of simple tasks. It is more likely to perform the task correctly, while individuals tend to make more mistakes when executing more complex tasks. Hence, whether audience facilitates plus or impairs minus performance depends on the type of task. Simple versus complex, right? Okay. Or individual's level of expertise. This is the other thing. Or the individual's level of expertise. Experience versus beginner. The presence of others increases the individual's physiological arousal or drive level, which it turns impairs and enhances task performance, respectively. So for more complex tasks, it's gonna impair. For more easy tasks, it's going to benefit. Ultimately, I'm gonna use CS:GO again. Sorry, let me know if you want like the relation after I read a section. I feel like it helps because half of the time you guys probably don't give a fuck what any of this means. And on top of that, you guys are here to chill the fuck out, and I don't want you to stress your brain trying to figure out what that statement meant. So this is basically saying that CS:GO, right? I'm gonna use CS:GO a lot because it's a pretty typical like shooter game, and I've been talking a lot about it the past couple days. So there's that. In CS:GO particularly, being in a clutch situation where your entire team is watching you, it's very easy to focus on like where the bomb is and when to rotate and things like that. Like very simple tasks, very like macro tasks. Whereas micro things, like as soon as it comes to like two people pushing you at the same time, or like how to like target prioritization, things like that that take a lot longer to learn are gonna have a lot more of an effect. Again, also it says here how your expertise, right? Like an expert is gonna have benefit from pretty much. Not 100%, but is normally going to have benefit from performing tasks because they're going to like that pressure, and the pressure is going to help them zone in. Whereas a beginner is going to be completely thrown off, and it's going to ultimately like result in negative outcomes. A review of 12 years of research following the drive theory suggests their propositions are still valid. Nonetheless, alternatives to drive theory have evolved in the following decades. While some non-drive theories relate audience effects to self-awareness, others refer to cognitive attention focus. Though experimental research uniformly confirms the social presence effect. Though experimental research uniformly confirms that social presence affects individuals' performance, it remains unclear which mechanism mainly drives behavior. As the presence of others represents a particular case of pressure, it hence seems perfectly possible that pressure enhances performance depending on the type of task that the individual and the individual's level of expertise. Okay. That was kind of like nonsense that we really don't need. Empirical findings for performance under pressure in skill tasks. Maybe we'll look at this. Thinking about choking? Choking under pressure, self-consciousness, and paradoxical effects, incentives, and skill performance. Let's open this one. What was this from? Oh, it's gonna make me fucking buy it. Yeah. Nice. Alright. I'm sure this will cite it, right? I mean, that's why it's here. As this paper analyzes performance under pressure in a sport-related skill task, the section is devoted to previous findings from sports. There are also early non-sport studies. Golf putting performance is investigated in an experimental setting, suggesting performance to be worse when subjects are put under pressure. However, in high-pressure situations, participants who are distracted by a secondary task, counted down from 100, outperform subjects who solely concentrate on the putting task. Oh, fuck. Wait, that's big. Because I guess like you're not as like internally focused. You're not as focused on self. You're a lot more focused on like other things, and as being a better player, counting down from 100, you can focus like it'll help you. Maybe we try that. Maybe we put that in the video. Trying to do these things. Like I just give it a shot for myself. Going into a game with some people and in clutch situations counting down from 100. What if we fucking try that? And see if it works. Yeah, that'll be interesting. Because I'd love to like put a lot of these. I don't want to say that someone should do anything without doing it myself, and I don't want to say anybody should do something without like showing them that you can do it yourself. Right? I feel like telling someone and being like, "Hey, this is me doing this thing within this situation," is going to be a lot better. The latter result is explained by too much focus on the task execution induced by the additional motivation to perform well in high pressure conditions. Exactly. The additional focus disturbs task execution, which normally is performed automatically. There was also no further evidence for diminishing golf putting performance under pressure provided by asking 108 undergraduate students with little or no golfing experience to putt a ball as close to the target as possible. Wait, this says there's also further evidence for diminishing golf putting performance under pressure with little to no. Considering different kinds of intervention methods, pressure-like situations using monetary incentives are created. So basically this is saying that it also works for people who just don't know what the fuck's going on. That's big. Considering different kinds of intervention methods, pressure-like situations using monetary incentives are created. Results generally confirm decreasing performance for high-pressure situations. However, the authors showing putting accuracy to slightly increase under pressure when subjects had to practice putts under self-conscious raising conditions. Oh, wait. So, yeah. So, like, in tournaments, this may not work. Right? Because that's something different entirely. Whereas maybe in ranked, this works. Because you're not thinking about your rank every second of every day, right? Like, if I'm in a clutch situation, I'm not thinking about my rank. I'll say that. I don't know if anybody else does. Here, guys, chat, if you play a video game, when you're in like a tense situation, do you think about your rank? If not, it's I mean, it's probably better that you don't. Here, we'll ask when someone else comes in. Considering different kinds of intervention methods, pressure-like situations. Okay, we read this. Based on the assumption that pressure increases left hemispheric activation, which in turn is related to controlled execution of a task and thereby to performance decrements. Participants of a previous study performed a sport-related motor skill task in 3 blocks. In soccer, taekwondo, and badminton. I thought this is I was about to say T, dude. That would have been fucking bad. While the first 2 trials serve as for the introduction of pressure, the third trial is performed after participants have squeezed a softball for 30 seconds. Thereby, half of the participants activated their right hemisphere by squeezing the ball in the left hand before again performing the task under pressure. Overall, the findings indicate performance deterioration when pressure is introduced, but that the activation of the right hemisphere can eliminate this effect, thus preventing choking under pressure. However, they find no evidence for increased performance under pressure. This doesn't apply to us. This is too physical. In a further study, a throwing task had to be performed by participants to analyze novices' performance during experiment. During the experiment, the performance expectancy within the experimental group regarding the ability to perform under pressure is manipulated. The results show a significant performance increase to the experimental group when pressure is applied, while the performance of the participants in the control group does not alter before and during pressure situations. Wait, so is the novices performances. During the experiment, the performance expectancy within the experimental group regarding the ability to perform with pressure. Okay. Oh, is this part of it? For a hockey dribbling task with 34 experienced participants, performance is found to be worse in high pressure situations. Results further show that within high and low pressure conditions, subjects perform better when not concentrating explicitly on task execution, which is why the counting down from 100 is very nice and very good. By analyzing a hockey dribbling setting with experienced hockey players, additional evidence for declining performance in pressure situations is found. However, it is demonstrated that in high pressure situations, priming condition. Oh wait, blah, blah. I'm very thrown off by the fact that this XXXTentacion lo-fi song just came on. I was like, yo, I'm so thrown off here. I was like, no way, this is X, dog. Fuck. All right, man. By analyzing a hockey dribbling setting with experienced hockey players, additional evidence for declining performance in pressure situations is found. However, it is demonstrated that in a high-pressure priming condition, performances are equal to those in a low-pressure situation and better, thus faster, than in a high-pressure non-priming condition. Okay. For basketball novices, decreasing free throw success in pressure situations is shown. The result only applies to those subjects who are asked to pay close attention to the execution process during the practicing phase. Analyzing free throws performances of competitive basketball players instead of novices supports the results. Thus, participants suffer a significant decrease in free throw success when performing in a high-pressure situation induced by the introduction of an audience, videotaping, and offering financial rewards for improved performance. So this is saying that in most situations, ones where you're trying to beat your own head, and like that you can perform better by focusing on the way like something is built. Like for basketball free throws, it's focusing on every part of the task, not just practicing on shooting. Because in a pressure situation, you're not going to think about just shooting. You're going to think about everything that goes into it. And if you practice thinking about everything that goes into it, you'll be good. Versus golf, which is like it's better if you count back from 100 because your brain is focused on something other than like the conscious situation. And maybe that's because with golf you're tapping less of your it's tapping a different part of your brain, right? Because there's something physical about a free throw, right? I don't know. These are all like interesting things to talk about and interesting things within their own right. And that's why I'm talking about it. That's why I'm doing a video. I nerd out over this shit. But like, I think the introduction of audiences, videotaping, and offering financial rewards for improved performance. Sure, in the vast majority of settings, this doesn't apply to us, right? And in the vast majority of people that I'm trying to apply these things to, it doesn't apply to us, right? Like, I'm not talking to tournament professionals. I'm talking about guys who like play video games in their house. But I wonder if monetary incentive can also tie into like a rank up game, you know? Where there's a lot more on the line. And I imagine that's probably how it is, right? You're not just trying to beat your own head. You're not just trying to prove that you can do something in a high level situation. Other than like CSGO, I think like a clutch situation there, you don't know when you rank up, you just play. Right? Like a shooter game like that. Whereas like a fighter game in a tournament setting, most fighter games tell you when your rank up game is happening. Shit like that. I think that's where it's going to play a lot more of a... That's going to have a lot more of an impact. That's for fucking sure. I don't know. Maybe I'm very, very wrong, but... I don't know. A further study analyzes the impact of fear of negative evaluation on performance, investigating success rates of throwing a basketball from a short distance. The shots are taken from 5 different spots, which are all placed at the distance of the free throw line. The authors find decreasing performance, thus choking, only for participants who are anxious about being evaluated negatively. For other subjects, no significant differences in success rates are found. Well, this is big, right? Like, that's big for us because that's a majority of people who play video games. They're worried about being viewed negative, right? That's why the pressure comes from the beginning. That's why you want a higher rank, right? At least I think. Outside of experiments, field studies take advantage of the wealth of data on actual market participants who repeatedly perform almost identical tasks, but under varying degrees of pressure. Pressure in these instances is determined by factors such as the importance of competition considered, the current score in the competition, and the time left to play in a match. Penalty kicks in soccer are considered to be a prototype pressure situation, as they critically affect the match outcome, and expectations to score a goal is very high, in line with the hypothesis of individuals tending to choke under pressure at skill tasks. Successive rates of penalty kicks in professional football are found to decline with increasing importance of success. So this is a skill task. This is not an effort task. So yeah, like we were saying, shooting versus running. i.e. as pressure increased. However, contradictory to these results, success rates in penalty shootouts are found to increase with pressure in the German Cup competition, confirming clutch performance. In addition, several studies focus on the last mover disadvantage, i.e. whether teams that go first in a shootout have an advantage over the last team, resulting from higher pressure from trailing. One of these studies finds that the last mover teams indeed suffer from this kind of pressure. Ooh. The other studies refute this finding and speculate that the contradictory results be a consequence of data issues. Potential reasons for varying success in penalty shootouts between players are that the players are from high-status countries and generally perform worse than and B engage more in escapism, self-regulation, and strategies than players from low-status countries. Oh, so like their coaching is better, right? That's what they're trying to say. Well, yeah, but in this situation, their coaching is better, right? So that's why they're going to perform better, and that's what... I don't know how this applies to us. I think this applies to us in the setting of, like, a clutch situation, right? Where there's a lot of pressure. It's a skill task. A lot of these things you just have to know how to do, right? There's just not enough information on these things. They go both ways. And that doesn't help us. It doesn't help us the way I want it to. In golf, performance under pressure is analyzed for putting. Analyzing the impact of current leaderboard situation on performance, the author finds that the interim results are irrelevant for performance. In particular, players who are in the lead or close to the lead in the final round do not perform worse than those who are further behind. Furthermore, players' performances are constant across rounds. Between athlete comparisons may explain this finding, which is not in line with the widely accepted hypothesis of individuals choking under pressure. Considering also within golfer comparisons, such findings cannot be replicated, and corresponding studies instead do find athletes to choke under pressure. relating choking under pressure to golfers' age, an inverted U-shaped relationship in the Professionals Tour, with performance under pressure peaking at 36, is shown. The success rate at the final putt of golf tournament is found to decrease as the value associated with the shot increases. So yeah, like, I mean, they realize that, like, yeah. Finally, golfers currently with the lead are found to underperform at the end of close contests. Ooh, because they're nervous about someone coming up. But there's so much of a different culture within golf than there is in, like, a sport, right? Like, this idea of something being a lot more far. You can close out a game very easily, right? And that's the thing, is like comebacks within golf are not undermined, and that might be it, right? I would say for most other things, like most other sports, even esports, I think that once you certify a lead, it's very hard to come back. You can, but it's very hard to come back. Or that the better man is, or the better team typically is going to win, right? You can still have underdog wins and things like that, but it's a lot harder to do than I think in golf, where it's a lot about, it's a patience game, right? Like, that's why people get nervous. They get nervous about things that have happened in the past, right? Or like someone coming up and being able to take them back. Because you never really know where everybody else is at, right? You're just kind of like doing your thing, unless you're lower. I don't know. Basketball free throws constitute another scenario that is often investigated to analyze performance under pressure, considering data from the National Basketball Association and modeling free throw success rates as a function of the current score. Players are shown to perform much worse when their team is trailing by 1 or 2 points, or in the lead with 1 point. Yeah. Attempts are more successful when the score is tied, which equals less pressure, since that would end in an overtime and not a loss. Further evidence for choking under pressure in professional basketball is reported, with performance declining with additional pressure. However, the authors show performance to be unaffected by the crowd size, the tournament round, or whether or not is a home game for the player are considered. Examining the determinants of choking under pressure, overall lower free throw success rates are found for different groups, containing females and males and amateurs and professionals. In case of high pressure situations, analyzing the performance of professional basketball players who have been categorized as clutch players by basketball experts is also part of previous research. Results show that clutch players are indeed able to increase their performance, which is measured by points scored and fouls drawn in high-pressure situations such as the final minutes of a close game, while performance of other players is not affected by pressure. Therefore, results provide evidence that clutch performers actually do exist. However, the analysis further shows no difference for clutch players' field goal at percentage between low-pressure and high-pressure situations. It is also reported that professional basketball players who maintain their performance under pressure earn higher salaries. So what does this mean for us? You can clutch, but it's something that you're born with. Basically it. Your understanding of pressure, like basically it's saying like these people don't suck at the game and then become better at the game within a clutch scenario. They're just good at the game and they continue to be good at the game. And this is what you just have to hope you have. Some people are good at this. Some people let their mind just destroy them. And I'm sure there are things that help neutralize this a little bit more. For example, like this counting down effort or whatever. But at most high-level sports, it's kind of inherent, right? Like just the way your brain processes things. Some people are just going to be better at handling those situations than others. Okay, so this is a lot about how darts works. Pressure of darts. I don't feel like we need any of that. Empirical analysis. This is what we need. The data extracted from livedartsdata.com covers all professional darts tournaments organized by the Professional Darts Corporation between April 2017 and September 2018. Dude, I am very uncomfortable right now. I don't know. Here, let me turn this. That might be part of it. I just have my music too loud and shit. Hold on, sorry. Okay. Based on the raw data, it is possible to reconstruct which players makes the throw and the score before each dart, how many legs have been played in the match, which each player is. Okay. Okay, this is a lot about how darts work, right? To investigate performance of pressure shows. Okay. I don't need any of the functions. I just need to know what the results are. That's all sources. So it would be here, right? Discussion. We find no evidence that professional dart players are impacted by high pressure situations. While players' specific effects for performance under pressure indicate that some professional players in our sample may improve and some may worsen their performance in pressure situations, the average effect over all players is not statistically significant. Hence, our results do not corroborate studies supporting the choking hypothesis, in which states that overall performance and skill decreases with increasing pressure. But this is also professional darts, right? Like, I don't know. Find no evidence? There's no way. Like, that's very weird. The difference between our finding and previous studies on performance under pressure may be partly due to the fact that our studies will be considered very high-skilled individuals who would have to deal with the considered type of pressure situations on a regular basis. Exactly, that's what I think it would be. Professional darts players are at the very top of their profession and cannot fluke out of pressure situations, which is possible in team settings where tasks can be assigned to different team members. Right. In fact, darts players face pressure situations on a regular basis and hence gain experience dealing with the issue. It's like being a StarCraft player. I think, yes, in like hell, even like a very high tier fighting games character, you're gonna be the only person faced with that situation ever, pretty much, right? Because it's just you, versus in a team game where you have to hold a role that you may not hold all the time, or vice versa, and like that may have an influence. The situation is never the same, right? Because there's so many other possibilities, I guess you could say, of what your team could do, of what the other team could do. What your team could say, what the other team could say, etc. While throwing darts is the one skill required in setting considered, in other professions, the set of tasks is much more diverse, often combining requirement both skill and effort. Yeah, sure. The literature on social facilitation offers a possible explanation for the absence of any choking effect. Social facilitation suggests that the type of task and level of expertise greatly affect the consequences of audience or general pressure. As all players in our data are professional, pressure players should affect performance positively. However, we find positive effects only for some, but not all players. Accordingly, results cannot be attributed to the type of task, since all of our players have high expertise and execute the same task. The type of task should have the same effect on all players. I don't agree with that. On the one hand, ceiling effects by performing a well-learned task may lead to such insignificant performance effects. Hence, future research on darts players should also observe less experienced subjects in order to circumvent their ceiling effects. On the other hand, players may differ with respect to personal attributes. Further research on performance under pressure would benefit from including information. Okay, cool. So it sounds like they didn't answer anything. They're like, yes, some people do it, some people don't, but not everybody does it. Yes, of course not everybody does it. It's a completely personal thing. And they're like, yeah, personal attributes and personal characteristics. Isn't that like what the whole thing is? Like, what? Investigating semi-professional players such as youth players may further be beneficial. The importance of coping with pressure has been investigated by a qualitative study by interviewing 10 international top athletes. In the study, several attributes were stated as important factors for being mentally tough, such as being in control under pressure. In a further study against several former Olympics on a world championship winning athletes were interviewed as well by sports psychologists and coaches, finding that mentally tough athletes could not only cope with pressure situations, but even use it to raise their performance. An explanation for this is that individuals are either entering a competition state or a threat state when forced to a pressure situation, where the former helps their performance and the latter does not. Thus, to not choke under pressure in a conscious decision, but rather in a state of mind who is reached subconsciously. Right. Okay. It's all about state of mind, right? That's, I guess, where ego comes in, right? If you're confident, it benefits you. Throwing darts arguably is a very specific task, much less complex than other actions performed in pressure situations. They're shitting on darts all day here, dude. They fucking hate darts. Even though the social facilitation literature helps to understand the inconsistent impact of pressure on... Can you stop with the Star Wars fucking cantina shit? Holy fuck, no. Like, what is this, dude? Just give me some, like, fucking... Hey, Lily Pichu. I don't know. Okay. React differently to pressure situations due to interim results when playing before an audience or no six potential. Okay, yeah. We present analysis of potential additional variations. Okay. I don't need any of this. Damn, dude. First article, we didn't really get that much. What do we come out of this with? Self-focus or explicit monitoring theories explicitly predict that pressure increases self-conscious to a point where it harms performance. Yeah. It can cause skilled performer to deviate from routine actions. Yeah. Instead, closer attention is... Okay, yeah. However, in this high-pressure situation, participants who are distracted by a secondary task counting down from 100 outperform subjects who solely concentrate on the putting task. Okay. Results generally confirm decreasing performance for high-pressure situations. However, the authors show putting accuracy to slightly increase under pressure when subjects had made their practice putts under self-conscious raging conditions. Slightly increase. Subjects had to make their practice putts under Okay, yeah. Herefore, results provide evidence that clutch performance actually do exist. Yes, there is this, right? However, the analysis further shows that there's no difference in clutch players. Like, good players are just good in pressure environments. It's not that they're better in pressure environments. The fuck is this? It's 37 hours, though, so I can just leave it. Nice. Here, let's go to the next one. Chat, how are we feeling? Oh, we also have all of those. Damn. Turkish. Cool. Boom. Boom. Stress and distress. What do we want to do? So we have the choking under pressure. We've been through there. Adrenaline in sports. I feel like life stress is not going to be incredibly applicable. We'll keep it there. I think anger will definitely help. And I think flow state will definitely help. There's a whole TED talk that we can watch. You guys want to watch a video instead? Watch a video for a minute. I don't know how long the video is, but... Whoa. Who's this? This song's kind of fire. Ghost Data. Damn, dog. That's pretty sick. Ghost data. All right, yeah, let's go to the TED Talk now. I think choking under pressure, we got what we needed out of it. We got quite a bit. It's not as much as I may have liked, but it's definitely a decent bit. Here, let's do this. Just make a line here. Boom. Wait, nope. Boom. So now we are, let's move on to the TED Talk. This is going to be a lot about flow state and like achieving your flow state. It says the key to happiness. This guy I think is like a key researcher for this sort of stuff. Okay, no. This guy's supposed to be like a key research for this sort of stuff. So it may be interesting. I think, yeah, like as I was saying, life stress is probably not going to play too much of a role in the ultimate part of the video, right? Because this is a lot more personal. And I think like this, what we got from a lot of this stuff is that this matters, but there's not much you can do about it, right? Like it's so individual. Right? I'm not gonna like start a gaming video and be like, you want to rank up? Fix your fucking life, you know? Stop being sad and depressed. No, I'm not gonna do that shit. That's not fun. No one wants to hear that. I just want to talk about video games. I'm just here to talk about video games in an interesting way. Psychology within video games. Yeah, so let's go to the video. I'm an idiot. Chill and watch a little video for a bit. Boom. All right, what makes life worth living? Nothing money can make us happy. Look to those who find pleasure and lasting satisfaction in activities to bring the state of flow. This may be applicable. It's only 20 minutes, so fuck it. Let's watch it. This is something I have looked into a lot outside of video games. It's helped me with video games. I don't know if I want to address this sort of thing in the video because it's a lot. Like it's just very like I want the video to be fun and I want the video to be interesting. I also want it to be informative, but I feel like there's a point where, you know, I'm doing this for entertainment purposes. And I'm not here to, like, correct someone's life, right? Like, I'm not here to fix your problems. I'm here to just, like, chill and talk about video games. And I want people to be able to come to my stream and just, like, chill and talk about video games. You know? Like, we'll probably turn off the camera and play some chill shit later. And, like, just have fun. And I want to be able to have that. I don't want to be, like, some, like, gaming expert who's here to, like, provide all of his opinions to you. And for you to come and ask me, like, how do I rank up, sir? And I feel like trying to get too much into this and like this like self-betterment, self-improvement stuff, I don't want to become a self-improvement YouTuber, you know? That doesn't sound fun. Although it is beneficial, you know, like learning about these sort of things are beneficial. But yeah, so flow state is something that I've looked into a lot, right? Like flow state is that point of like almost ultimate focus. Meditation helps you achieve the flow state a lot easier. So if you're meditating every day or you're continually meditating, you'll slowly be able to hit this state of mind where you're pretty much entirely focused on whatever's in front of you. This has helped me. I use it in a way for gaming or even streaming where I'm so entirely focused on what I'm doing on stream. Even though I stumble over my words a lot, I still feel like pretty entirely focused on like what's going on. To a point where like I can go an entire hour with talking about whatever the fuck and not even realize, oh, I talked about it. Cause that's like what the flow state is. It's like playing a game and you come out of the game, you're like, oh, I won that. Cool. But you weren't thinking about your decisions. Like your mind wasn't off somewhere else. But you also weren't like, you know, you were thinking about shit, but you were thinking about it so hardcore that you weren't worried about the passage of time or things like that. I felt that way when editing videos and things like that, where everything I do is still, you know, very thought out and determined. But it's not, you know, I'm not like thinking about other shit and browsing YouTube while I'm doing these other things, right? So in any way of your life, you can definitely get a lot from flow state, for sure. A lot from flow state. Flow state has a lot to offer. But I don't know if I really want to touch on this too much in a video about like channeling, like just being cool with raging, you know? I want the video to be more funny than that. While also providing decent points, but...
I grew up in Europe, and World War II caught me when I was between 7 and 10 years old, and I realized how few of the grown-ups that I knew were able to withstand the tragedies that the war visited on them. How few of them could even resemble
Kind
a
of my stream
normal,
manager over here.
contented, satisfied, happy life once their job, their home, their security was destroyed by the war. So I became interested in understanding what contributed to a life that was worth living. And I tried as a child, as a teenager, to read philosophy and to get involved in art and religion and many other ways that I could see as a possible answer to that question. And finally, I ended up
Oops, sorry.
encountering psychology by chance. Actually, I was at a ski resort in Switzerland without any money to actually enjoy myself because the snow had melted and I didn't have money to go to a movie, but I found that reading the newspapers that there was to be a presentation by someone in a place that seemed in the center of Zurich. And it was about flying saucers he was going to talk. And I thought, well, since I can't go to the movies, at least I will go for free to listen to flying saucers. And the man who talked at that evening lecture was very interesting. And actually, instead of talking about little green man, he talked about how the psyche of the Europeans had been traumatized by the war, and now they are projecting flying saucers into the sky, kind of as he talked about how the mandalas of ancient Hindu religion were kind of projected into the sky as an attempt to regain some sense of order after the chaos of war. And this seemed very interesting to me, and I started reading his books after that lecture, and that was Carl Jung, whose name or work I had no idea about. Then I came to this country to study psychology, and I started trying to understand these roots of happiness. This is a typical result that many people have presented, and there are many variations on it. But this, for instance, shows that about 30% of the people surveyed in the United States since 1956 say that their life is very happy. And that hasn't changed at all, whereas the personal income on a scale that has been held constant to accommodate for inflation has more than doubled, almost tripled in that period. But you find essentially the same results, namely that after a certain basic point, which corresponds more or less to just a few $1,000s above the minimum poverty level, increases in material well-being don't seem to affect how happy people are. And in fact, you can find that the lack of basic resources, material resources, contributes to unhappiness, but the increase in material resources do not increase happiness. So my research has been focused more on, after finding out these things that actually corresponded to my own experience, I tried to understand now where in everyday life, in our normal experience, do we feel really happy? And to start those studies about 40 years ago, I began to look at creative people, first artists and scientists and so forth, trying to understand what made them feel that it was worth essentially spending their life doing things for which many of them
Damn, this was in 2004.
fame or fortune,
Sorry.
but which made their life meaningful and worth doing. This was one of the leading composers of American music back in the 70s, and the interview was
So we'll
40
make it
pages
full screen.
long, but this little excerpt is a very good summary of what he was saying during the interview, and it describes how he feels when composing is going well. And he starts by describing it as an ecstatic state. Now, ecstasy in Greek meant simply to stand to the side of something, and then it became essentially an analogy for a mental state where you feel that you're not doing your ordinary everyday routines. So ecstasy is essentially a stepping into an alternative reality. And it's interesting if you think about it, how when we think about the civilizations that we look up to as having been pinnacles of human achievement, whether it's China, Greece, Hindu civilization, or the Mayas or Egyptians, what we know about them is really about their ecstasies, not about their everyday life. We know the temples they built, so where people could come to experience a different reality. We know about the circuses, the arenas, sport arenas, the theaters. These are the remains of civilizations, and they are the places that people went to experience life in a more concentrated, more ordered form. Now, this man doesn't need to go to a place like this, which is also, this place, this arena, which is built like a Greek amphitheater, is a place for ecstasy also. We are participating in a reality which is different from that of everyday life that we're used to. But this man doesn't need to go to there. He needs just a piece of paper where he can put down little marks, and as he does that, he can imagine sounds that had not existed before in that particular combination. So once he gets to that point of beginning to create, like Jennifer did in her improvisation, a new reality, that is moment of ecstasy. He enters that different reality. Now, he says also that this is so intense an experience that it feels almost as if it didn't exist. And that sounds
Exactly.
like...
That's what I was saying earlier. This like intent, like it's such an intense experience that it almost feels like that time period didn't happen. I feel this a lot when I stream. Where like this sounds like very weird, but when I stream, there's a lot of times like when I have a very good stream, where I just kind of go on rants or go on talks. I feel that a lot because I like picking my brain in that way. So there's some streams that's like, holy shit, I'm only at an hour and 15 minutes, dude, and I don't have to do any sort of time limit, but typically I like to go 2 to 3 hours, and I'm like, okay, shit, I at least got to do 2. I at least got to do 2 or 3. And so I'm like, holy fuck, I'm barely there, like better make the most out of it because it's going to be a long fucking day, things like that. Versus, these talk streams. I think yesterday was a very good example of that, where I talked for 3 hours straight, just in this feeling of ecstasy. And I come out of it and I'm like, holy shit, wait, I'm back in reality. This is my flow state. And I'm finding myself hitting that a lot more with meditation. Like in places that I don't want to, I want to always hit it because I love that feeling. Because like I was addicted to it. So, okay, here's a fucking weird story. This is like what flow state feels like to me, right? Is this feeling of just being totally like spaced out. That you come out of it's almost refreshing. It's very carefree. You're not focused on anxiety and things like that. A situation that compared a lot to this feeling, before I knew what this feeling was sleep. And that sounds very weird. You're like, what the fuck? When you wake up early as fuck in the morning and you feel like kind of groggy, but not angry yet because nothing has rubbed you the wrong way. You just feel like present. You're so focused on like, okay, I have to go to the bathroom and brush my teeth. Or like you're so focused on like, I need my cup of coffee. Like these very simple tasks. And you don't stop at anything until you complete those tasks, right? And you honestly, sometimes, depending on the type of person you are, maybe you get frustrated when someone interrupts you within those tasks, right? And that's what makes you a grumpy person in the morning, is someone knocking you out of your flow state. And I feel this a lot. If I'm in my flow state and someone comes and distracts me, I get frustrated. Because I feel so like comfortable in this scenario. It's an impeding force, and it's almost like a nagging, So I would say like with meditation, I've started to be able to hit that a lot more. So before, like I remember early, middle, high school, like way back, I would fucking just sleep all afternoon. I'd like come home from school and I'd sleep and I'd wake up and then like I'd go about the day just feeling that kind of like tiredness, slowness almost, because at school it was good. I could go to school and I could just be sucked into my phone. And not have to worry about shit because school was really boring. So I could hit that flow state because I was so tired that I was just able to like do thing. I don't know how to explain it. It was very weird. It was a very weird time. But that was like a huge thing that like I remember doing, and it didn't really occur to me till now. Whereas I've realized recently that hitting a flow state is the exact same feeling, and that I actually don't need to nap, and naps are actually more destructive than just getting out and doing something physical. Like inherently like naps like don't provide any benefit. You could say that you're tired, but like go outside and walk around for an hour, and then come back and tell me that you're still really exhausted. You may still be tired, but like, are you gonna want to go to bed? Probably not. I don't know. Go play some Just Dance or Beat Saber or whatever, and like come back to me and tell me like, are you still like exhausted? Probably not. You'll be like somewhat like physically involved, and therefore you're gonna be in like a better mood. And so what I've realized is like I don't need to sleep for those reasons. So I kind of just keep my energy up and I meditate. And when I'm tired, I meditate or I go on a walk or something, or maybe both. And I come out of it and I feel this like the same feeling I felt after I would wake up from sleep, right? But even better than that, because there are inherent negatives to like that feeling when you wake up from sleep. It sounds really weird, but the parts where it's like the passing of time just didn't happen. You can look up and be like, holy shit, it's dark outside. I felt that yesterday during my stream where I just talked about things that like I really like picking my brain on. And you look up and you're like, holy fuck, it's been 3 hours already. God damn, I need to do something with my life. And then you get up and go do something. But I love that feeling. I'm addicted to it. Like it just feels so like pure, where outside forces are not involved in any way. Like there's nothing bogging my mind down when I'm in that state of mind. You're just so focused on whatever's in front of you. And then you can come back, and that's why I love watching my VODs. I love watching my VODs after stream because the streaming aspect is very much like a flow state. And I'm very meditated right now. I mean, I meditated before this, and I just feel very like calm. I feel very collected, and that I can come out of this and almost like it's fun to look back at VODs and be like, holy shit, wait, what did I even talk about? What did I even say? What did I even do? Because I don't remember half the time. Like he's saying, it's just like you forget about the entire situation that's involved in it. I think I'm trying to think of another situation in which like I easily hit flow state, because now like the meditation, it helps me hit it so often on things that I'm not even trying to do, like something as simple as like driving, like, or like I don't know, on my walks I hit my flow state a lot. Like I'm just focused on everything that's like going on. I don't know. There's a lot of situations where I just like there's no rhyme or reason as to why I'm hitting it. But since I think it's just through meditation, I'm able to hit it a lot easier and able to just focus on a lot more things. I have a lot less things holding my brain down, a lot like things I'm anxious about. I'm still anxious about shit, don't get me wrong. I'm still fucking depressed about shit, don't get me wrong. But it's a little bit better. Just slightly. Just slightly.
A kind of a romantic exaggeration, but actually our nervous system is incapable of processing more than about 110 bits of information per second. And in order to hear me and understand what I'm saying, you need to process about 60 bits per second. That's why you can't hear more than two people. You can't understand more than two people talking to you. Well, when you are really involved in this completely engaging process of creating something new, as this man does, he doesn't have enough attention left over to monitor how his body feels or his problems at home. He can't feel even that he's hungry or tired. His body disappears, his identity disappears from his consciousness because he doesn't have enough attention, like none of us do, to really do well something that requires a lot of concentration and at the same time to feel that he exists. So existence temporarily suspended. And he says that his hand seems to be moving by itself. Now, I could look at my hand for 2 weeks and I wouldn't feel any awe or wonder because I can't compose. But so what he's not telling you here, but in other parts of the interview, is that obviously this automatic, spontaneous process that he's describing can only happen to someone who is very well trained and who has.
I don't necessarily agree with that. I mean, I guess he's saying like, yeah, when he's like playing music like this, that's like all automated. I think
As developed technique, and it has become a kind of a true.
It's talking in form of music. I'm talking in form of other things. Like hitting your flow state in video games. I guess you could say, yeah, actually, I could say that. I'm not thinking about where I'm aiming or where my hand is in proportion to my mouse pad when I'm in my flow state or playing a video game. Or I hit my flow state very easy in fighting games, which is why I love fighting games, because it's so easy for me to focus in. So let's say in terms of Melee, I don't think about where my hand is on the GameCube controller at all. Like, at all. Like, I'm just so focused on where my character is and how my character's moving, and whatever happens, just happens. I'm not thinking about pressing B when I'm in a flow state or when you hit a flow state. And for streaming, I'm not thinking about anything other than talking, really. Sometimes some scene switches. I feel a little bit more cognizant because the entire, like, everything that's involved, which is, like, managing chat or switching scenes or flow of information, which would be talking, or even just playing a game sometimes. Like, those things all kind of go together. But yeah, I'm not so conscious right now. I mean, I am because I can think about it, but it still feels almost like spaced out. This is gonna be really weird for you guys, and like trippy. But I feel like I don't feel like I'm in front of a desk with a light on me that I am. Like there's a webcam on and I'm in front of the world. I'm in front of the void, right? But when I'm hitting this flow state, I don't feel that. All of that goes away, and I just feel like I'm talking. Yeah, okay.
Is in the study of creativity that you can't be creating anything with less than 10 years of technical knowledge, immersion in a particular field. Whether it's mathematics or music, it takes that long to be able to begin to change something in a way that it's better than what was there before. Now, when that happens, he says, the music just flows out. And because all of these people I started interviewing, this was an interview which is over 30 years old, so many of the people describe this as a spontaneous flow that I call this type of experience the flow experience. And it happens in different realms. For instance, a poet describes it in this form. This is by a student of mine who interviewed some of the leading writers and poets in the United States, and it describes the same effortless, spontaneous feeling that you get when you enter into this ecstatic state. This poet describes it as opening a door that floats up in the sky. Very similar description to what Albert Einstein gave as to how he imagined the forces of relativity when he was struggling with trying to understand how it worked. But it happens in other activities. For instance, this is another student of mine, Susan Jackson from Australia, who did work with some of the leading athletes in the world. And you see here in this description of an Olympic skater, the same essential description of the phenomenology of the inner state of the person. You don't think it goes automatically. You merge yourself with the music and so forth. It happens also actually in the most recent book I wrote called Good Business, where I interviewed some of the CEOs who have been nominated by their peers as being both very successful and very ethical, very socially responsible. You see that these people define success as something that helps others and at the same time makes you feel happy as you are working at it. And like all of these successful and responsible CEOs say, you can't have just one of these things to be successful. If you want a meaningful job and successful job, Anita Roddick is another one of these CEOs we interviewed. She is the founder of Body Shop, the cosmetic, kind of natural cosmetic thing. It's kind of a passion that comes from doing the best and having flow while you're working.
God, 2004. Spend if you can internship there, or just knock on the door and say, "Hey, can I work here for cheap?" Like,
this is an interesting little quote from
the world in the past,
starting
man.
out Sony without
Imagine
any money, without a product. They didn't have product, they didn't have anything, but they had an idea. And the idea he had was to establish a place of work where engineers can feel the joy of technological innovation, be aware of their mission to society, and work to their heart's content. I couldn't improve on this as a good example of how flow enters the workplace. Now, when we do studies, we have, with other colleagues around the world, done over 8,000 interviews of people from Dominican monks to blind nuns to Himalayan climbers to Navajo shepherds who enjoy their work. And regardless of the culture, regardless of education or whatever, there are these 7 conditions that seem to be there when a person is in flow. There's this focus that once it becomes intense leads to a sense of ecstasy, a sense of clarity. You know exactly what you want to do from one moment to the other. You get immediate feedback. You know that what you need to do is possible to do even though difficult. And sense of time disappears. You forget yourself. You feel part of something larger. And once those conditions are present, what you're doing becomes worth doing for its own sake. In our studies, we represent the everyday life of people in this simple scheme, and we can measure this very...
If this is how he's talking at 1.5, he must be talking pretty fucking slow, dog.
Precisely, actually, because we give people electronic pagers that go off 10 times a day, and whenever they go off, you say what you're doing, how you feel, where you are, what you're thinking about. And 2 things that we measure is the amount of challenge people experience at that moment and the amount of skills that they feel they have at that moment. So for each person, we can establish an average, which is the center of the diagram. That would be your mean level of challenge and skill, which will be different from that of anybody else. But you have a kind of a set point there, which would be in the middle. If we know what that set point is, we can predict fairly accurately when you will be in flow, and it will be when your challenges are higher than average and skills are higher than average. And you may be doing things very differently from other people, but for everyone, that flow channel, that area there, will be when you are doing what you really like to do.
So flow, okay. So flow basically comes when you're doing things good, when you're having fun doing things good, and when, okay. And then when things are fucking challenging. And, you know, you're being pushed to your limits also when you're better, right?
Piano.
So you're going to hit your flow state easier in like a clutch situation in a video game. But you're going to hit it a lot easier when you're at a higher level of play.
Probably.
Right? When you're thinking about the game a lot more.
Perhaps work, if work is what provides flow for you. And then the other areas become less and less positive. Arousal is still good because you are over challenged there. Your skills are not quite as high as they should be, but you can move into flow fairly easily by just developing a little more skill. So arousal is the area where most people learn from because that's where they are pushed beyond their comfort zone, and that to enter, going back to flow, then they develop higher skills. Control is also a good place to be because there you feel comfortable, but not very excited. It's not very challenging anymore. And if you want to enter flow from control, you have to increase the challenges. So those 2 are ideal and complementary areas from which flow is easy to go into. The other combinations of challenge and skill become progressively less optimal. Relaxation is fine, you still feel okay. Boredom begins to be very aversive, and apathy becomes very negative. You don't feel that you're doing anything, you don't use your skills, there's no challenge. Unfortunately, a lot of people's experience is in apathy. The largest single contributor to that experience is watching television. The next one is being in the bathroom sitting. And then, even though sometimes watching television about 7 to 8% of the time is in flow, but that's when you choose a program you really want to watch and you get feedback from it. So the question we are trying to address, and I'm way over
Right,
time,
it holds your
is how
entire
to put
attention
more
when it's something that's interesting.
and more of everyday life in that flow channel. And that is the kind of challenge that we are trying to understand. And some of
But yeah, spending more time in flow is better, right? And that's weird because you're like, well, I don't want to miss the passing of time. That fucking blows. Like I don't know. They explain it as like you feel like time's not there. Time is still very relevant. Time is still very there. It just feels like I don't know. There's a certain feeling to it that's like pretty. It is like ecstasy. It's very like it removes you from whatever you're involved in. I don't know. It's very hard to explain, but I fucking love it. Let's see if we can get anything good from this transcript here. Maybe we do. Maybe we don't. I don't think there's much we can pull from this that like I feel like we don't already know, and that's really what we're looking for here. Boredom begins to be very aversive and apathy becomes very negative. Oh, wait, here it goes. The other combinations of challenge and skill become progressively less optimal. Relaxation is fine. You still feel okay. What is this? Stop with this ghost data shit. Oh my god. I literally just need to find something fucking... Please, just give me some lo-fi music. Stream lo-fi. Cool. Boom. That wasn't hard. Other combinations of this challenge and skill become progressively less optimal. Relaxation is fine. You still feel okay. Boredom begins to be very aversive, and apathy becomes very negative. I don't know if there's really anything I can pull from that. Yeah. Maybe we just... There is a Forbes article on flow state, though, which I feel like may provide a lot more. Here we go. Boom. We chilling, chat? All right. Article is more than 6 years old. Damn, this is some old internet shit. Who can enter the flow state? Literally anyone. I think that was like a big part that I might be able to touch on. Sorry, hold on. Start out with expert level performers, surgeons, Navajo shepherds, okay. Japanese teenage motorcycle gang members, and the list goes on. And no matter where in the world he went or what population he studied, when people felt their best and performed their best, flow was only constant commonality. There are different on-ramps of flow. This is sort of an extension of the first question, though it's a slightly different answer. As of right now, researchers have identified 17 different flow triggers. That is preconditions that lead to more flow. There are 3 environmental triggers, 3 psychological triggers, and 10 social triggers. And as of right now, 1 creative trigger. Do they have the list of triggers? What's this going to be? Monka S? What Mel Brooks can teach us. Okay. It takes about 90 pages to explore these ideas in Rise. But I will try to put some context around these triggers. Take high consequences, aka risk, which, as many people know, is a frequent and potential flow trigger. A lot of people, especially action and adventure sports athletes, ride this trigger into flow. Yet risk doesn't only have to be physical. It can be emotional, intellectual, social, doesn't matter. Artists get into flow nearly as frequently as athletes by taking creative risks. Check out 2-time Sundance winner Andy Timoner, I don't know. Talk about the film, okay. Moreover, risk is merely one gateway. Makers of all varieties, whether we are talking about computer encoders or synthetic biologists, follow the deep hours of uninterrupted concentration required by their efforts right into the state. Last week, I was speaking with Jay Rogers, the CEO of Local Motors, the world's first successfully open-source car company, about the deep flow that comes from working on cars. Altruism is another gateway. Back in the 1990s, Big Brother / Big Sister founder Alan Lux discovered that there's an altruism backflow called the Helper's High. Originally, it was believed to show up only in the hands of acts of altruism, like joining the Peace Corps or volunteering in a soup kitchen, but since turned up for far more ordinary examples, like bidding at a charity auction. In business, flow shows up everywhere as well, but it's most commonly associated with startups. Okay, wait, what? They're like, I leave it to Forbes to like try to put everything on a very like, this is what this is level. I don't know how to explain it. Like that, business is how you start flow. What do you mean? Start business and you'll have flow. Oh, what? Are there variations within flow? Clear goals, loss of feeling, self-consciousness, distorted sense of time, lack of awareness. Okay, we're out of here. Okay, not much on flow that we can. Well, maybe we'll touch on it, but I don't feel like there's anything I need to take notes on via flow, necessary with flow. Like, I'm trying to think about how I'd want to tie these things together and be like, hey, this is how flow affects you. And I think I can do those things without any notes on them. Just from personal experience. Sorry. Adrenaline sports. Actually, let's do anger. Anger's a decent one. Here we go. Competitive aggressiveness, anger, and experience of provocation in collegiate athletes. This is by West Virginia. It's just a student's grad paper, but he did talk to 243 male and female contact or collision sport athletes competing in NCAA Division 1, 2, or 3 universities across the country. Participants filled out questionnaires addressing both competitive aggressiveness and anger and the experience of provocation. Overall, it was found that male athletes scored significantly higher than female athletes in competitive aggressiveness, as well as experiencing more frequent provocation behavior and more negative and intense responses to provocation. So there is a difference. There's another article that I have here that tells me that they didn't take this into account, and the findings were still the same. But they weren't trying to prove if like men or women respond differently. And I think that what lies on that, this is an uninformed person. I think what lies on that is the amount of pressure that's placed on male athletes, just because of the fact that not that I agree with this, but male sports are considered like the only real sports, right? And like the pressure's a lot higher, right? Like, I don't know. I think that's like a very big like part, right? If we were gonna look back at like anxiety or stress within sports, and a lot of it was like, well, how much is on them, and how much pressure is there, right? And I feel like there's a lot more pressure in male sports than female sports, just based off of, I mean, there might be different personal pressure, but I think just based off of the fact that we've like created this environment where we push male athletes a lot because it's like the only true sport, even though it's very bullshit. But yeah, so this one I have no clue, because like they try to do a lot of gender comparisons. They do sports type comparisons. I want to see like what can we find here. The other one might just be better. It's a lot more short too. Pilot study, demographics, okay. Gender sport division, right? Like they also say like Division 3 athletes obviously don't care as much as Division 1 athletes, and that's because like there's so much more pressure placed on a Division 1 athlete because of this manufactured idea that it's like a more pure sport or something. And I'd imagine that's the same with like female and male demographic questionnaire. Do I want to read this one? Does this one look like it'll help me? This just says like participants, research design and sampling, okay? How they did it. Procedure. Here, let's go to procedure. we go. Procedure. On our way to procedure, boy. Oh wait. Actually, it was on a page. It said page number, right? 16. Boom. Boom. Participants. That's not what I wanted. Hello? It said wait, was it below that? Am I an idiot? 16? I guess maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was fine. Research design and sampling. Instrumentation. No, it was down here. They fucking put the wrong page number. Procedure. IRB approval was obtained before data collection began. Both assistant and head coaches from selected sports team were contacted via email to explain the study and request participation from the athletes on their teams. As a small incentive, coaches were informed that participation in the study would grant access to the general summary of the study's findings once the researchers compiled and analyzed all the data. If they chose to participate, coaches were asked to forward. Okay. Cover letter. Data collection began summer. Okay. G-Power 3.1 analysis revealed approximately 120 total participants would be the minimum sample size required. Sorry, I'm kind of just... Demographics, data cleaning. I don't think this is going to tell us what we want. Discussion. The primary goal of this study was to investigate and better understand competitive aggressiveness, anger, and experiences of provocation in collegiate sport athletes. In particular, it was important to understand if these variables differed among male and female contact and collision sport athletes, and if any further differences occurred among NCAA division level. Both male and female collision athletes were participating in contact and collision sports were surveyed electronically using questionnaires that assessed the variables of competitiveness, anger, aggressiveness, and anger. Sorry. Woo! The experience and the experience of provocation. The two hypotheses proposed at the beginning of the study were that male athletes would score higher on the CAS anger and aggressiveness subscale and would report experiencing and responding negatively to and more provocation than female athletes. 2, collision sport athletes would score higher. Okay, cool. Based on the results of the current study, the hypothesis was partially supported. Male collegiate athletes scored significantly higher over CAS athletes, and female athletes were significantly more likely to tolerate aggressiveness and be inclined to aggress in an athletic setting. However, while male athletes scored slightly higher in competitive anger, the difference was not statistically significant. Gotcha. Nice. These findings point to the notion that the amount of anger felt during competitive sports was not significantly different based on gender. Again, I think that might just be based off of, like, the pressure that's placed on the respective groups, right? And the idea that, like, there's, like, it's going to be, if you're invested enough in a collegiate sport, right, like, you're going to care. But also the fact that, like, who's looking at you in a D1 male basketball team. I mean, not to say that that's not going to happen for female teams, but I'm just saying, like, there's a lot more of eyes in that sense on you. So, you know. But I think in terms of video games, which is what we're trying to apply this to, that doesn't matter, right? Everybody is kind of just playing. And that's really how we're looking at it. We have to realize that that's what we're trying to get out of this. You know, so... some researchers have suggested that males are more prone to anger than females. Okay, result of the current study suggests that female athletes in these types of sports may simply be less likely to act on anger than male athletes. For example, female athletes were found to have slightly higher anger levels from provocation by opponents, but males have more negative and intense responses to the same types. Okay, sport type comparison. The second hypothesis was supported based on the findings of the current study. Collision sport athletes were found to have significantly higher competitive aggressiveness and anger than contact sport athletes. This finding was consistent irrespective of the gender. What seems to be one of the clearest predictors of competitive aggressiveness, and anger is the type of sport that the athlete plays. Although all sports involved in the current study featured a contact between opponents, the key difference between collision and contact sports is that the later allows in-game contact, but extreme contact or direct collisions are not implicit or required. In contrast, collision sports generally involve high-speed collisions as an integral part of the sport. Simply put, they are necessary to achieve appropriate goals. So football versus tennis. Well, tennis is not a... Wait. Football versus field hockey. I don't know. A few previous studies have procedures findings that are relevant to sport type. I don't need that. Fuck. It is challenging to answer whether the sport creates angry, aggressive individuals or the aggressive, angry individual it starts to join the sport. That's cool. Collision sport athletes are most at risk for participating in harmful aggression. Division level. Fuck, dude. Like, I was hoping more as to, like, this would be why. Not, is this, you know. Let's see. Maybe this one has one? I forget what this article was. Like, there's not much I can work with that last one. Examination of anger. Differences in tennis and basketball athletes. Because what, am I going to look up, like, anger in video games? No. Like, fuck off. That's not, Anger defined. Theories of anger. See, this might be helpful. Effects of anger. Emotion regulation. This looks a lot more on with what I am interested in. Methodology, results, expression out, anger expression in, anger expression index, anger control out, anger control in, trait anger, angry reaction, angry temperament, state anger. Feeling angry, feeling like expressing anger verbally. This is what I want. Not 112 paper, size fucking 87 font on whether or not boys are more angry than girls. In all of our lives, we inevitably experience anger. However, we all differ in how we express and control this anger. Here, sorry, I'm just gonna turn my music down a bit. Okay, cool. In how we inevitably control our anger. Okay. Across all cultures and even in the very beginning stages of our lives, we show facial expressions of anger. So it is no surprise that athletes experience anger while participating in sports. In fact, it is difficult to separate competitiveness and anger expression in sports participation. Does this anger get in the way of the performance? It can. One tennis great said, "A good day for me is one without self-disgust. I concentrate hard when I play too hard. I get ill-tempered as soon as I make a couple of bad shots and thus put myself farther and farther down. If a person spends a large amount of energy controlling angry feelings, performance is likely to decrease. Human beings can experience a wide range of emotions, anger being one of them. Anger is induced by stress, especially in sports, and is linked with arousal in competitions. Performance may be affected by anger as it does cause disturbances and in precision and concentration and lead an athlete to injure another player. That's not what I'm worried about. I'm not worried about injuring another player. I'm just worried about the precision and concentration, which applies to video games, right? If you're mad that your Bowser throws suck, that's why you end up bricking 3 more Bowser throws, Ethan. Maybe don't get so mad when you brick the first Bowser throw, and you'll have a fine next 2. I'm telling this for myself. I will come back to the VOD later. I will clip this for myself. Ethan, please stop getting angry that you're fucking up your Bowser throws. It's only gonna make you miss 6 more. And it stacks. Bug you. Oh my god. To help the reader understand, he used to play tennis while spending energy on other tasks. For example, in a close game of professional tennis, one would can expect close calls by line judges to significantly distract each player. The professional who is able to gate out the adverse decisions and attend the game should have a decisive advantage. This is true because playing flawless in tennis and fretting over a bad call both demand information and processing space. To try attend both will result in decremented performance. This is where flow state comes in, right? If you're in your flow state, you don't give a fuck what the call is. You're just playing the game, right? You're like, okay, the call was the call. I got to play the game. Like, here's the thing that I think a lot of people do, and I even do it, okay? is that this is a huge issue that I'm trying to change in my video games. But Grayson, if you're still here, maybe you remember this from yesterday, where we were down 4 fucking rounds and you're like, okay, I gotta try now. I gotta actually focus up. You should be focusing up from the fucking beginning. We all should. This idea of like, okay, it's real now is just distracting us. Because we're so caught up in whatever the fuck else is going on, rather than just playing the game. The game will play out whichever way the game plays out. And that requires a lot of meditation and like concentration and hell, even resistance from the people competing. But I think that's the way that it has to be viewed. Like, get your personal emotions out of it. Get your like, oh, thought of I want to rank up here out of it, and put more thought into the fact it's like, just the fact that like I'm playing the game to the best of my ability. And that's how I felt like I was able to rank out in Nova, was like I stopped caring about like winning or losing. I was just like, let me shoot people and be good in a video game, guys, in a video game. But that's really like what it comes down to. Or like, you know, rather than working on the PB, just being like, I want to run the best Mario run that I can. And honestly, that's why I hate splitting. Is splitting required for my Mario friends in here, if there are any? Is splitting required, or can I literally just put a timer up and just let the timer run and then stop the timer whenever my run's over? Or do I have to split? I don't know. Splitting just sounds like lame. Because they would honestly do wonders for my PB, because I wouldn't have to worry about fucking splitting and seeing my time. I can put the time behind somewhere and then just leave it, and I don't have to look at it. And you guys can see it on stream. I don't have to worry about it. I don't have to look at it. I don't have to deal with it. Boom, bada bing, bada bam. Easy. We'll use this. Just because I feel like a lot of analogies that I'm going to be able to apply here are going to involve like other sports. I don't think I'm going to be able to talk entirely about video games, or maybe I could put these analogies within video games, but I think I'm really going to have to be able to draw from like, oh, this is what happens in tennis. And it's going to make a lot more sense to people, right? Rather than saying like that time that you're pissed in a video game that like maybe only video game people understand and relate to. Yeah, that time that happened, that thing. Yeah. You remember that? It's a lot easier to just be like, yeah, you know that sport that you learned in elementary school that you don't really give a fuck about? Hey, do that. I don't know. Though there are a vastly larger quantity of research on emotional problems such as anxiety and depression, research on anger and anger reduction is beginning to receive more attention in applied psychology. Past researchers and practitioners have not clearly defined anger. Terms like hostility and aggression have been often used interchangeably with anger. This inconsistent vocabulary led to development of anger instruments that lacked consistent validity and reliability. So what they're saying, hostility and aggression. So maybe raging isn't what we want. Well, okay, raging is an expression of anger, right? Like anger is like you're just mad, right? Like someone killed you, you're like fucking mad. Versus like aggression, just being like mad at your fucking teammates and calling them an idiot. Which you still shouldn't do, guys, by the way. Like if you didn't know that, don't call your team fucking stupid. Because it's not helping. No amount of you backseat gaming some kid on the internet who doesn't give a fuck with an anime profile picture is going to make him a better player or you a better player in that moment. Stop backseat gaming. You're lame as fuck for it. Inconsistent vocabulary led to the... Okay, yeah. Therefore, more instruments have been developed and new concepts introduced. Anger is the least understood human emotion, yet it is also one of the most intriguing. Many different definitions of anger exist. One recent definition is a negative phenomenological or internal, I should have just said internal, feeling state associated with specific cognitive perceptual distortions and deficiencies. Misappraisals, error, attributions of blame, injustice, preventability, or intentionality. Being mad that you died, right? Because you feel like the fact that you lost the clutch was you're to blame, right? Or that you should have won that round because you're better than them. Or that you made a stupid move because it was entirely preventable. Subjective labeling, psychological changes, and action tendencies to engage in socially constructed and reinforced organized behavioral scripts. Fresh Bach referred to anger as an undifferential emotional arousal state. Later, other researcher another researcher added the idea intention to harm another person. Argued that anger was not aggression or hostility, but as a result of suppression, anger could lead to emotional responses. Yeah, I don't think that it's meant to harm another person. Stearns argued that anger was not aggression or hostility, but as a result of suppression, anger could lead to more of those emotional responses. Yeah. In an attempt to clear up the massive confusion between anger, hostility, and aggression in the research community. Anger is not you wanting to hurt someone. Anger is just being pissed. Anger usually refers to an emotional state that consists of feelings that vary intensely from mild irrational to annoyance to intense fury. Just all furies are just popping the fuck off, and rage. Although hostility usually involves angry feelings, this concept has been the connotation of a complex set of attitudes that motivate aggressive behaviors directed towards destroying objects and or injuring people. While anger and hostility refer to feelings and attitude, the concept of aggression generally implies to destructive or punitive behavior directed towards another person or objects. Anger usually, let's do this one. Hostility usually involves angry, complex feeling. The concept has the connotation of complex. Yeah. So like a feeling of hostility is different than anger. That's what they're trying to say here. Why does all of this stuff get so like broken up? What the hell? Into furry. Cool. In another attempt to help clear confusion and terminology flaws, Spielberger and his associates adapted an accepted state trait personality theory to anger. Following other definitions of state and trait anger. State anger, sanger, was defined as an emotional state or condition that consists of subjective feelings of tension, annoyance, irritation, fury, and rage, with I don't know that word, activation or arousal of the autonomic nervous system. Autonomic, sorry. Nervous system. We further assume that S anger can vary in intensity and fluctuate over time as a function of perceived affronts or injustice, or frustration resulting from the blocking of goal-directed behavior. Being mad you didn't get the kill, i.e. Trait anger was defined as terms of individual difference in the frequency, and S anger was experienced over time. It assumes that the person is high in T anger or more likely to perceive a wide range of situations as anger-provoking, annoying, irritating, frustrating, and to respond to such situations with elevation of in-state anger. In addition to experiencing the arousal of S anger more often, persons high in T anger were expected to experience more intense elevations of S anger, wherever annoying or frustrating conditions were encountered. So just very like piss people. Not people you want to be around. But hey, it's a thing, and it's a way to you can definitely control this, right? You can become better accepting of like understanding that your mental state is just going to be like your mental state is prone to this sort of behavior, and you can change it that way. It's never unfixable, but yeah, okay. Simply articulated state anger is the anger that an individual feels at the present time right now. Now what they will feel or how they did feel earlier. The trait anger is unique variation in the rate of recurrence over time the state anger is experienced. There's no theories of anger. Nice. Psychoanalytical view. There are many differences in theories of anger. Okay, I don't really need... Do I want that? Social learning theory. The social learning theory predicts behavior by generalized expectancies for problem solving combined and situational expectancies and reinforcement values. Oh shit, chat. These individuals then model their behaviors after the other people. Next, reinforcement is received for exhibiting similar actions and attitudes. An assortment of responses can be expressed with this view. Depending on what the individual has learned to be an effective coping method to an adverse treatment they received, this is seen to be true with young athletes who often imitate their favorite players. This pattern can be a very positive experience, but all professional athletes have good and bad qualities. Observing and emulating bad habits only continues to use negative habits in the sport. One example was found in 1988 when Smith discovered that violence in professional hockey is modeled by younger players of all ages. He discovered that being aggressive is accepted and rewarded in hockey, and players learn at their early age that personal recognition is gained through aggressive play. It's like why like a basketball player freaking out over a certain thing is like super stupid, right? Because then like a kid's gonna do that. Or like the soccer flop, right? The soccer flop being done in high school. Because people look up to them and they're like, that's how to do it. That's how I have to act. If I gotta walk the walk to talk the talk. And maybe you get that out of esports. It really depends on, I think it really depends on who you watch, right? Like, I will say that if you're watching someone who's a lot more prone to anger, if you're watching XQC, you're probably going to become a lot bigger of a dickhead because you're not going to realize that he's doing it for entertainment purposes and you think he's like, that's how to be a gamer, you know? And then you're not going to learn and you're just going to act like an asshole. Yeah. Another view, revised frustration aggressive hypothesis. Another view was presented by Berkowitz when he redesigned the frustration anger hypothesis. Frustrations generate aggressive inclinations to a degree that they arouse negative effect. Then he says that this negative effect gives rise automatically to a variety of expressive motor reactions, feelings, thoughts, and memories that were all associated with both fight and flight tendencies. That is with inclinations to escape / avoid and to attack. Frequency and intensity of aggression is influenced by increased levels of frustration. Okay. Aha syndrome. I was actually interested in this. I don't know what this is. More recently, Spielberger proposed the aha syndrome. The theory combines anger, hostility, and aggression. The combination was due to a substantial overlap in the fundamental conceptual definitions of anger, hostility, and aggression. In the aha syndrome, the emotion is anger, A, the trait is hostility, H, and the expression is style of anger is A. So emotion, hostility, and then expression. In this theory, anger is foundation variable, and then different aspects of this emotion are often accentuated in various forms of hostility and aggression. Spielberger developed the Staxi scales to measure multidimensional nature of this contract. I don't think... Our social world is complex and emotional expression may be unwelcome in many situations. Every day we regulate our emotions, and because regulation is so common, a social emotional outburst or expression stands out. That's why like a kid acting like a dick in a video game is going to be like, why are you acting like a dick in a video game? You're always going to feel those emotions, but like someone's going to say it on the internet, right? Emotions persuade us to act certain ways, but they do not force us to act. We can deny expression, and individual difference in expression suggests that the responsive tendencies individuals differ. This difference in expression may begin at several different steps of the process. Day-to-day experiences vary, which provides different inputs to individual emotional programs. These different inputs may be magnified or weakened by the manner that the individual views them. The research on temperament implies that individual differences in activation thresholds and response tendencies exist. Emotions define the quality of human experience, and they motive thought and action. Strong emotions have the ability to negatively affect task performance. Current and past literature, and anger in sport. Earlier studies of elite performers used the traditional experimental design with a control group and experimental group. These studies do not transfer well into the natural setting of playing field inhabited by athletes and coaches. In the past decade, many researchers have used qualitative methods. These designed over the main focus of studying cases intensively in a natural setting. The researcher then reflects on this personal experience to report the findings. Using qualitative designs has aided qualitative designs has been aided in learning about elite performance. Yeah, so like here's this. The main results suggest that varsity athletes did not statistically differ significantly from in trait anger predisposition from intramural athletes. Yet, they did report less anger in tendency to suppress anger when experienced, anger out tendency to express anger towards people or other objects, and anger control tendency to control the experience and expression of anger than the intramural college athletes. Basically, they can keep their fucking cool. A more plausible explanation for the lower reported expression of anger in varsity athletes may be that their election to participate in high contact football serves as a control valve or release for these feelings of anger and frustration, which results in minimized self-reports of generalized anger expression. In other words, varsity athletes may take their anger out on the field. I don't agree with that. I think that it's been drilled in their head to not act like a fucking dickhead. Whereas on lower end sports, you don't do that because you don't have enough of a commitment to it. Right? I mean, but yes, this could surely be like a thing, right? You get that out of your system. But I have a feeling that a lot of it is due to the fact that like, why are pro esport rage compilations so rare? Right? At least in the last 10 years. Because now it's viewed by a whole different audience, and I'm sure exactly what the coaches are telling their players is very different from whatever coaches, well, in 2012, teams didn't have coaches. So people were just like mad. And they had grudges themselves. You see it a lot with like the fighting game community, which is like a lot more underground, all having like incredible rage incidents or like people getting mad on stage or trying to fight other people at like locals versus like pro CS:GO. Like what is like is No Tails trying to like run up to Fly in Dota and just like whoop his ass? Probably not. You know, he's not gonna like. You know, it's like little things. They're not going to like express their anger because they're getting paid to do these things at a higher level, right? Or like they're getting rewarded to do these things. Like a college athlete is getting some sort of payout. There's a certain expectation that I don't feel like is expected of intramural, right? If someone's personally invested versus someone's like financially invested, it's going to make a big difference. Big difference. I'm really hungry. I've been talking a lot. We'll get some food. What do you guys want to play tonight? I kind of want to play like I just got a new fighting game. Look, called Guilty Gear XRD. I've been watching a lot of this and it looks fucking sick. It's like a really hard one. I don't want to share my Steam. I don't want to share that Steam community. I don't know what's in it. Yeah, like I don't know. But the game is like really cool. It's like a very complex fighting game, but I want to learn how to get it down. Excuse me. You know what I think be fun? Is a story game with you guys, like a Half-Life or like, cause I kind of just like tonight. I just kind of want to play. I want to stream and I want to play games, but I don't want to like try. So I think what I might do is just like turn off the camera and do whatever I end up doing. I think it might just be a lot more fun for me, but I want to do something with you guys, and I kind of want to do like a story game. I think it might be fun. I think Dark Souls might be cool, but I don't have Dark Souls. I have to find a way to get it. I think you could do like an emulator. I mean, a legally acquired copy. That's what I meant. I'm sorry. Shit. Fucking play poker. HD poker. Ew. I don't know. I don't have a ton of like story games on here. I'm trying to think. Maybe we just do Mario speedruns. Or we play Among Us. No, I'm kidding. I'm fucking kidding. I don't know. We'll have to see when the time comes. Popular literature supports the idea that anger is a relevant issue in tennis. However, there is a little written pertaining to this construct in the scientific literature. Research in psychology and sports psychology contributes minimal insight. Okay, so tennis, the reason I keep using tennis is because it is a physically demanding game, but not in a way that a contact sport is. It is more of like an intellectually demanding game, I would say. It's physical, don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to say it isn't. But it is it's a game that I've played that I understand. But also like it's there's a lot of intellectual demand. On top of that, you can't you're never making contact with your opponent, right? So like it's purely like personal and like it's personal psychology, which I think relates a lot to video games. And that's why I'm trying to draw this comparison a lot between tennis and video games, because it's a skill-based game more than an effort-based game, like we were talking earlier. But also it's just you. So a lot of the thoughts are just yourself, or a rule of the game that you really couldn't prevent. For example, oh, I should have had that shot, or he shouldn't have gotten the headshot on me first, versus like I should have had that, I should have gotten him out there. Things like that. Also, again, yeah, you never make contact with your opponent in the same way that you never make contact with your opponent in a fighting game, or sorry, in a video game. Like, yes, virtually you're making contact maybe, but not in any sort of way like football, right? Where like a lot more things could be like variables, right? Not a physically demanding game. Yeah, I don't know. Sorry. Research and psychology. What the fuck is that? Let's go next. Popular literature supports the idea that anger is a relevant issue. We were here. Most of these studies do not focus on anger, but more specifically on role anger plays on the tennis court. This is good. In one existing study, Striegel, 1993, used 9 male professional tennis players in a qualitative study on anger management and performance. All the tennis players observed had previously been ranked in the United States Tennis Association top 10 list at least 5 times. The major categories in this study were anger and the developmental years, the expression of anger, causes of anger, effects of anger on performance, coping with anger, and using anger to one's benefit. Striegel stated that his findings could not be generalized in the larger population, but did provide a deeper understanding of the 9 professional tennis athletes and their beliefs on the relation between. So maybe I can't use this stuff, but I mean, I'm going to try. Between anger and performance. These athletes believed that getting angry on the court was unavoidable. In such an intense competition, emotions will naturally run high and often outward expression. I agree with this. However, they also believe that there are ways in which a player can deal with this anger without letting it affect their performance in a negative manner. Like, this is the same thing, right? Like adrenaline in a video game, right? Like, you can't avoid it. And all of these like videos, and I mean countless 100,000 view videos on how to control your anger. Like, you're not going to meditate in the middle of a 30-second clutch situation on Mirage on B site. No, you just got to fucking go, and you just got to do it, right? Okay, so yeah. So that's, I mean, I feel like that plays a big role. Another idea broached in this study, player can deal. Okay, wait. Another idea broached in this study discusses controllable and uncontrollable situations and how they lead to anger. A sample of professional tennis athletes believe that the controllable situations, getting in the match on time to warm up properly and being prepared mentally and physically, should be dealt with before the start of the match. Uncontrollable situations, however, line calls and bad weather, are unavoidable and should be dealt with on a case-by-case basis. I agree with this. Right? Before meditating in a 1v5 situation on Dust. Exactly. Like, hold on, guys. Let me just touch the hand of Siddhartha. 30 seconds clutch. You know, like, no, like, you're not gonna be able to do that. But I do agree with this, right? The sample of professional tennis athletes believe controllable situations, getting the match on time, warming up, being able to handle yourself, right? Versus like close line calls. Like, there are things that are gonna suck in, let's say, speedrunning, since Quasi's here. Let's say speedrunning. There are things that are gonna fucking blow. You're gonna miss a Bowser throw. You're gonna, hit a weird jump line, and it's just gonna throw you off, and you're not gonna be in the same. Maybe you stop moving altogether on accident. Some shit like that. Those can be dealt with on a case-by-case basis, but you should be preparing enough before the actual situation to a point where like little things shouldn't anger you, right? Like before joining a CS:GO game, understand that the people that you're playing with are probably going to be idiots, and don't address your anger against them, right? Or like, you maybe should probably have a decent enough aim so that you can't really get angry at your aim. You can just say, oh, they were better than me. That was a big thing I did. Now I don't do it at all because I didn't care enough about CSGO, but this is a huge thing I did when I was playing it, or even Rainbow Six when I was competing, was like, never view someone as a hacker. Just view them as better than you. Whether it's true or not. Just view them as better than you. When was the last time you played CSGO? 2011? 2012? When it came out? No, it's a lot of people without mics, so and you just get like weirdos and ragers. But yeah, so I don't know. I think there's a lot that you can do. There's a lot of preparation you can do beforehand versus, you know, on a case-by-case basis. But you should be able to channel that anger, right? Like, so just viewing the fact that, like, oh, a hacker in your game, don't get angry. Like, it's going to suck, but you can't get... Oh, I guess that would be case-by-case, wouldn't it? You have to address that how it goes. I think, but generally, like, just, like, not getting mad at your teammates is something that you teach yourself. You come prepared mentally to the game or to the sport, and your teammates aren't going to tilt you. Your aim's going to be as good as it possibly can be. You can't get angry at that, right? Or you shouldn't be getting angry at that, especially if you're trying to compete or get better, right? You can't be angry that your aim is not right? Versus, like, you know, it's going to suck when someone kills you before you kill them. That's like a case-by-case basis sort of thing that I think you can do. But your head has to be right before you can do any of that shit. Unavoidable and should be dealt by on a case-by-case basis. For athletes, the primary cause of anger is frustration. In order to avoid high levels of frustration, one might possess the ability to brush aside the past and move on towards the future. One must also be so engrossed by the present that the previous game set or point has no bearing. I also agree with this. This is why tennis is so applicable to... this is why it's so applicable to video games, because it's just it's your personal mental game. No matter if you're playing a team competitive game or a solo competitive game, it's always gonna like relate a lot to single person video games. Found this YouTube series this guy made of getting a 1,800 win streak in the Minecraft game mode, and he explains the nerves once it got high. It was his 999th game, and he had a hacker, and he still won because he knew exactly how to deal with the nerves. But, like, it's not about dealing with the nerves. Like, a lot of people try to say that, right? And that's what, like, that's what the point of my video is. None of it is about dealing with the nerves. It's just like, I mean, I guess you could say it's dealing with the nerves, but I feel like dealing with the nerves has, like, a very negative connotation to it. Where it's like, oh, I have solved the issue. And that's not how that works. You can't solve the issue. It's like anxious. It's anxiety, right? Like you're gonna get nervous naturally. Like a professional sports player is still gonna get nervous in a close game. You know what I mean? Because it's a natural progression. And I feel like the whole idea of like I dealt with the nerves is like, oh, I've passed that point in person, and that's not being able to make good plays while nervous. Yeah, exactly. It's just like understanding, like at a high level of skill, at a point where he's like 999th game. It's a very, like, it's obviously natural for him. Quasi, you missed it earlier. We went into a lot of this. We looked at anxiety and adrenaline in video, or in like just sports, right? And like how that's accessible. And the biggest thing we realized when like looking at darts players, there was a lot of results basically saying, wait, hold on, where is this? A lot of things saying like results provide evidence that clutch performers actually do exist. However, the analysis further shows that no difference between clutch players' field goal percentage between low percentage and high pressure, or low pressure and high pressure situations. Basically, it means that like you can be good in a pressured situation, but you can't be bad and then be better in a pressured situation. You can only be good and continue to be good in a pressured situation most of the time. And then what was the other thing? It was like saying something about statistical process performance or step-by-step control. Confirm decreasing performance for high pressure situations. However, the other show it was basically it's something saying like a pro is going to be good at being a pro, right? So like pressure can help a pro be a better player. Versus pressure as a low tier player isn't going to benefit you. It's going to negatively affect you. And the way to become and so that's what I think the ultimate, I don't want to like give you the ultimate goal of the video because I want you to watch the video when I make it ultimately. But the idea is going to be the fact that the only way to beat these scenarios is not to learn how to beat these scenarios. It's to practice the fucking game and to get better at the fucking game. Pressure helps those who are top tier, who are top 1%, right? Which is why in his situation, the pressure honestly may have benefited him because he would have been more focused on doing the right things better. However, for people like you, for people like me, for people like majority of the people that I'm trying to make the video about or at is it's for you know, it's so you sorry, oh my god, Ethan. Like that doesn't apply to us. Like the pressure makes us bad. And the whole idea of like trying to channel nerves is like you can perform good under pressure, but it's because you're already good. That's what I'm trying to say. And that's something that like I've always been nervous about. It's like as a competitive player, as a low tier competitive player, I was always like, well, how do I get better? How do I get better in those situations? And the only answer really is get better at the game. And that like is not substantial for a lot of people, right? Because like in a culture that we've really developed that's so keen on like self-improvement and like immediate improvement, I want to be able to read a list about how I can get better at the game, or how I can get better in a situation and be like, okay, I can do these things. So like there's some evidence that says in golf putting, at low tier players, I have this here. In golf putting, for low tier players, counting down, however, in high pressure situations, participants who were distracted by a secondary task, which was counting down from 100, outperform subjects who solely concentrate on the putting task. So I want to try this for the video and see if this works in a competitive video game scenario. But I don't think it will. Like, I think ultimately the benefit, like we want things like that. We want like, okay, well now every time in a clutch scenario, I'm going to count down from 100. It's going to make me better. That's what we want. Cause like, that's the way like we've like pushed ourselves to, that's the mentality we've pushed ourselves into. My Spotify just turned on my phone. That was weird. Like these are the situations that we put ourselves in. I don't know. I think like, ultimately it's going to be very abstract. It's like you just have to practice the game. And that sounds very stupid because everybody wants answers. And like I'm tired. The reason I'm making this video is because I'm tired of this. Handling nerves when gaming. There is no way. And then there's 158,000 people who are learning how to avoid tilt and anxiety. And these people are all like probably using like the wrong things. Things to take away. Instead of playing to win, play to improve. Like, yes, but that should be in general. I'm like, you seriously have to do this time? I've been gaming since childhood. Okay. But like, it's just like, there's so much, like this is like it's such a, like a, it's not an A-B scenario. And we want to provide. But when you improve, what do you play to do? What do you mean? It doesn't make sense. The sentence doesn't make sense. But then when you improve, what do you play to do? That guy said play to improve, not to win. Well, exactly. I think like I think there's a beneficial part of like approaching every scenario as like a learning experience. Okay, so I'm not gonna call it like completely stupid, but if that's what he's taking away from a 13-minute video, which is like, I mean, I'm gonna give them even less than that, but if it's not an A/B thing, and like as Dr. K has said, if you've followed anything that he's ever said, he's a very good source on mental health for gamers and stuff. But that a lot of us who play video games is we want an A/B solution. We want to solve this, do this. We want to do this, do that, right? Because that's how video games work. That's why we play video games. It's because it's solvable. We get it done. We fix it, right? Or to provide a challenge to learn and fix those things, right? But ultimately, like, there's something in our brain that says, hey, to do this, to do that. Like, do that to get this out of it. And that's not how this is going to work. This is something on such a different level. And he's kind of said this as well when he talks about mindfulness or whatnot. He's like, you can't just expect A or B. Like, this is getting over your brain. Like, you can't just turn your brain off. It's not like, oh, well, if I breathe, I'm good. Like, it's not like that. And a 13-minute video probably talking about frustration on low elo. It's like 7 techniques to reduce anxiety and nervousness in video games. He's talking about real life, and a lot of people in the comments were like, well, yeah, he was ultimately talking about real life. Da, 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 da. It's like, I just don't feel like any of these are really like how to conquer fear when gaming. You can't. Like, you just gotta just get better at a fucking video game, dude. And that's why I'm gonna call my video like understanding rage. I think like something like that. That's not like how to do thing. Like, I don't know. I feel like it's just far too, it's not A-B like that. To help treat symptoms of anxiety and nervousness, applying several techniques backed up by scientific. Okay, I mean, like, I don't know. Maybe he is a bit better than I thought, but I haven't listened to this.
CBT, or cognitive behavioral therapy, is a short-term, goal-oriented treatment that takes a practical approach to problem solving. Its goal is to change patterns of thinking or behavior.
Like, he's like recommending therapy. Which, I mean, is good. Everybody should have a therapist.
So I recommend you use whichever you find your more spaced program that offers mindfulness training to assist people with stress and anxiety.
Like, there's a lot of... Right, something like that. Exactly. But, like, rather than just being like, how to not be mad. The fucking series. What up? Yo, it's your boy. I'm gonna tell you how to not be angry anymore. Just don't be angry. Like, it's like, what do you want me to fucking say? Ah, it's so frustrating. It's so fucking frustrating. Whatever. But yeah, so that's what the goal of this is. Where was I? So there's a lot of things that can be done about this, right? One of those things is just get better at what you do. Scientifically, it is proven that stress, or not stress, I'm going to say adrenaline, right? Let's say adrenaline. I'll just say stress. Stress is beneficial to a high-tier competitor. Stress is not beneficial to a low-tier competitor. And then you're like, Ethan, well, like, what do I do then if I'm a low-tier competitor? Like, do everything you can to become more of a high-tier competitor. Ultimately, you're going to see your rank go up because you're going to practice and you're going to give a fuck. Which is what it boils down to, right? You want to get better at video game? Stop watching YouTube videos about how to get better at video game. Play video game. You know? I can read for like a million hours about how to do a thing, and I could read I could read 10 books about how to fix a car. I'm not going to know how to do it until I fucking fix an actual car. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so I like, that's what a lot of these videos are going to boil down to, but I'm hoping that I can provide like a grounds for discussion, and maybe potentially more mindfulness when it comes to competitive video games. Because I think a lot of people, again, want to solve like an A-B, like, when this, do this. It's like, it's not computer science. We're not like making websites. Like, we're not doing that. We're literally playing a video game. Like, video games are supposed to flow. Situations in video games are like supposed to flow, right? While Mario's a very mechanical game and a very muscle memory game, there's still a lot of situations you have to adapt to and do within the moment. Say your jumps to the side, or your character's a little bit off. It's not going to be perfect every time. I would say even more so for a game like League, or a game like WoW, or a game like I don't know, any competitive 5v5 multiplayer video game. Fucking even 1v1 StarCraft, fighter games, anything where you're playing against somebody and not just yourself, like in speedrunning, but playing against somebody, it's going to be very different every time. You can't just watch like A/B videos, which is something I did to learn to get better. You can't do something every time and it works. This is not how competitive video games work, right? It's like how you watch Mario all the time and you know the strats, but you don't get it. Yeah, exactly. I feel like I have all the tools to be able to have a sub 20, but unless I put in the hours, I'm not gonna get the fucking sub 20. It's just what happens. And so yeah, I'm using tennis as a good relation because it's a sport that requires a lot of skill-based like actions, which for us, success in effort tasks is dependent on motivation. Effort tasks are things like running a mile, okay? While skill tasks outcomes underlie precision of often automatic execution, literally getting good at something, right? So being able to perform under pressure on a skill task is literally just like, do I know enough about this thing? And tennis is very much like that. It's entirely skill tasks, very little effort. It's a game with your own head most of the time, like what you're doing, right? Like, you're fighting your own head in any like elo solo queue rank, right? And that's what I'm trying to make shit for, right? Is for like the personal gamer who just wants to get better. You don't want to be pro. You don't care about being pro. You just want to like fucking rank up and have fun and be good, be better than like where you are, you know? which I think is most people who play video games, right? Like, you want to have a better PB, you want to have a better rank, you want to do these things. And so a lot of that's against your own head. Also, it's not a contact game, which means there's a whole like separate subset of rules on like channeling anger, right? Like, you can be angry at someone for hitting you very hard, and you're going to address that a certain way in football, right? By hitting them back. But you can't do that in a video game. Like, you don't have the ability to punch them IRL. You know what I mean? So you're addressing your anger by shooting someone in a video game. Like, I don't know. It's like, it's closer to tennis. It's like if you get angry that someone did something to you, or you get angry that you fucked up doing something, which most of the time is what it boils down to. You're not angry that a guy is really good. You're angry that you're really bad. Right? You're angry that you can't beat him or them, you know? So, yeah, like, I think that's really what it comes down to. We like to say, oh, this guy's fucking annoying, I don't like him. But, like, really, we're just mad that we're not better, right? Because we wouldn't blink a fucking eye if that wasn't the case. And tennis, that's the case, right? Like, if someone does something to you, you're going to be mad at them, but you're really just mad at yourself. And so, like, you're never going to be able to have contact with them. The only thing you could do is score on them. In the same way, only thing you can do in a video game is score on them. Is to be up. And more aggression is not going to help that. It can, which is why we're kind of looking at here, but it's very case by case. So most preliminary data was provided by Gould. Gould pulled 153 junior tennis coaches to determine their opinions about the importance of specific mental skills training, what mental skills they taught, and circumstances that hindered the teaching of mental skills. These researchers found that emotional control is a mental skill that is rated high in importance, taught to athletes of all ages, but rather difficult to teach effectively. This is something they teach in skill-based games, like tennis. Right, exactly. But they're mad at themselves. Like, I don't know. Yeah, I feel you though. Examined the consequences and antecedents of self-talk as in competitive tennis performance. They used 18 adult USTA tournament tennis players. These athletes were observed by USTA sanctioned matches. The audible self-talk, noticeable gestures, and tennis scores were recorded. Results indicated that all athletes used observable gestures and self-talk during matches, and the circumstances in the match, aftermath, the point of serving and standing, predicted the use of negative self-talk. Okay. In another area of anger research, authors suggest that behavioral interventions dealing with anger in sport can be effective. Jones reported a successful intervention using a top 10 female racket sport player. This elite athlete had a problem with her on-court temperament. She became extremely angry and frustrated in pressure situations. The governing body of her sport had previously fined and suspended the athlete due to her temperament on the court, and she was referred to a sports psychologist. The researchers in the study then presented the elite athlete with anger management problems. A cognitive behavioral intervention which proved to be successful. Another intervention case, a 14-year-old male tennis player had a long history of anger control problems during matches. At first, this intervention was extremely successful, but after a period of time, the young man did revert to some of his previous habits. Because I don't think there's as much in it for a 14-year-old as like an adult, right? An adult who does this for her job is going to have a lot more patience to do something versus a 14-year-old boy who does tennis because his parents tell him to do tennis, you know? Or maybe he likes it, but you know what I mean? It's still ultimately like something like that. The literature also provides examples of research coinciding with an athlete to prevent psychological problems. Don Burton examined the impact of comprehensive psychological skills training program on a male and female college tennis athletes. Some of the skill components were relaxation, arousal regulation, and focusing. The researchers found both practical and statistical significance in their case study with an intra-team and inter-team results. All the players in the sample benefited from the psychological skills training program implemented. So that's the biggest thing, I think. I don't want to tell people go to therapy. But, like, go to therapy. Like, you know what I mean? Like, to ultimately be better, to like handle your rage, you have to really address this yourself. I think, again, people want A-B scenarios of like, well, what do I do in a game to like calm my nerves? And there's really nothing you could do. It takes tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of preparation to get these things to happen and to get these things to like work, right? In the way that, you know, I don't know. Just saying. Just saying. Oh shit, that's me. Troop. Hey, got a hella flow. I already know. Quasi in here, yeah, he kind of slow. He a loser, yeah. What? I don't know. Okay. Some of the skills components, relaxation. Yeah, so like a lot of stuff is like you have to do a lot of stuff out of game, right? You have to do everything you can like mentally out of game before you come back and like try to, I don't know. Just get better at the game. Be mindful. Do what you need to do to like handle your anger. And understand that like I don't want to be like it's just a game, but like only you matter. Only your performance matters. Nobody else's performance matters. Even though it's easy to get frustrated at other people, like the whole play to learn thing is like a very oversimplified version of what I'm trying to say. Because obviously play to learn is super unrealistic. You just want to play to win, but you know, you should be focusing on your own ability, not someone else's ability. That's wasting brain space. You want to hit your flow state, right? We watched a video on flow state earlier. You want to be able to hit your flow state as easy as possible because it's going to allow you to be a lot better in a scenario. Oh, there's 5-0 down, man. Okay. Woo. So yeah, this is a big thing, I think, with esports as well. Due to the lack of emotion, catharsis gained by physical rough play with opponents as a part of acceptable behavior in sport, tennis players lack the physical release of tension as demonstrated by a higher level of anger expression when compared to basketball players. Which I think is big in gaming. Right? Is this the end? A lot of results. Hypothesis 1 focused on anger expression in. Suppression of anger or one's tendencies to experience anger but hold it on. Anger expression out. One's tendency to express anger at people or other objects, the surrounding environment. An anger expression index, regardless of the direction of expression, a generalized index of frequency that anger is expressed or experienced. Scores. All of those things were scored. No statistical difference occurred between tennis and basketball athletes in these areas, and the effect size numbers were all in small range. Yeah, I was about to say, where does that gamer rage go? So that's where, again, like a lot of these things with tennis, they were saying earlier with this study, I don't know if I recorded the note, they're saying a lot that fuck, what was it? Like there's anger management things you can do, right? And like that's what a lot of these tennis players do, and that's why like you have to handle a lot of stuff outside of things. But also at a higher level, this rage can like fuel your game. But I think at a low level, it can't. In the same way that stress can help at a high level and stress doesn't help at a low level. Do you agree with that or disagree? I don't know. I think that's like the only like reasonable thing. Like at a higher level, yes, anger or frustration can fuel you to be better. You don't? You think that? Oh, you agree? Okay, wait. You do agree or you don't? Holy shit. No, like yeah, I think like at a very low level, at a very low level, it just like there's no outlet, right? There's nothing for you to be invested. There's no way for you to be invested, you know? Like I just Or maybe, I mean, you can be invested, right? That's where the anger comes from. You are invested, but not in the same way. Like, I think with esports, you want a huge game that I think anger at a high level, you want to see it in evidence of video games and evidence of low games. I think a way that anger doesn't help you at a low level is look at i.e. like source every fucking competitive CSGO match that I've ever played. And some guy was angry and ended up the team, like, making the team lose when we had a lead, right? Or someone starting to complain. Like, anger, again, anger isn't like rage. Anger is just like annoyance or little things like that. Like, those, none of those things are good. You being annoyed by someone shooting you first, you're wasting brain space on things. Versus like letting it drive you and just being like, whatever happens, happens. I gotta beat them. A high level version of this would be, if you guys know what Dota is. Most of you do. Dota, there's a professional game by a guy named No Tails, right? And he had a best friend on a team with him on a professional international level team. They were about to go to the biggest tournament of the entire year, and they were one of the top seeds. This is a Dota team named OG. There's a guy named No Tails on it. He's a position 4, position 5 player in Dota esports, and his best friend Fly was I forget what role he was, but Fly was his best friend. They literally would be like if me and Grayson went pro together, like literally just played casually every day, played like over 4,000 ranked matches together, and just were like inseparable. They came up together, but they somehow both made it pro because they were both fucking really good, right? A week before the biggest tournament of the year and one of the most expected like wins for this team, Fly left and went to a different organization entirely because they paid him more money. Ditched a week before the tournament. And the coach of this tournament, this game, had to go and play and stand in for the big team. That year, OG, which was what do you call its team? No Tails' team, the guy who was still on the team. His friend left for a different team. I think his friend left for Evil Geniuses. They ended up winning the entire tournament, and they played the Evil Geniuses team or Team Liquid. I forget which team it was that Fly went to go join, and stomped the absolute fuck out of them. And in that sense, I think anger at a high level can totally just push you to the end. But at a low level, dog, come on. Like comparing Simply's world record to me, doing a decent run for my time is wildly different. We are both super stressed and anxious, but Simply is able to use that to finish his run without choking. Right, like he's able to focus in. Without that physical component in gaming, it is really easy for complex games like CS to get super toxic. With the wait, so you're saying like, oh. Yeah, but that's like natural, right? Like that's why tennis players are so much more toxic. Tennis players like start so many more verbal arguments at a rate like even more so than like basketball players. Yeah, like I think inherently, like if there's no way to take your anger out, it doesn't. Okay, I don't think it means that the game is less toxic, but I think like what's visible is a lot more toxic, right? Like you're looking at outbursts, right? Like if you hit someone, it's still toxic. You know what I mean? If you just if you like, you know, I remember plenty of lacrosse games, like some kid saying something to me on the sidelines and then fucking trying to hit the shit out of him the rest of the game because I was mad. Versus like playing in a video game where some kid's mad and he just like uses his open mic. Or like tennis where it looks like they're obviously a lot more angry because they're able to just like, it's not as internalized, right? Like you just you yell at yourself or do whatever. And that's why people get so angry. I think it's like that anger is present no matter what. I think it's just like, it's natural. I don't know. Oh, man. Exactly. Checking the dude is definitely going to have functionality. It's still toxic inherently. But yeah, it's like visibly toxic, I think. Yeah, for sure. Like, it's going to seem like a game's a lot worse when people are able to like type in chat because they can't do anything. Like, they're just going to fucking type. But they're expressing their anger in a different way than just hitting someone, which could be just as bad, right? At least it's not hitting someone. Dude, fuck, my eyes are getting... Oh, we've been going for a while just on this shit. I like it. I'm really in a game. You either hurt yourself or your team. In a game, you will either hurt yourself or your team. Yeah, no, I agree. But I think like having like being like angry in a team sport can also hurt your team. Right? Like I can remember many lacrosse games where things were said on sidelines. And people were so focused on trying to check someone rather than like scoring. You know? But I mean, yeah, like I think it's just universal with sports, and I think that there's a lot of things that we can draw universally from sports that apply to gaming, but that just haven't been applied to gaming, or that we apply in very different ways because we think of it as gaming. I don't know how to explain it. Yeah, like I think, you know, in the way we present ourselves publicly, we want to move away from sports because we're something different entirely. In the way that, like, these things tap your brain, it's very similar. And they need to be looked at as very similar. And not something entirely different. Like, there's nothing that I think is hard for me to talk about, in a video game. Like, I literally am taking what I'm seeing here and I'm just putting in a game scenario. Because you see the exact same things here that you see in a video game. There's nothing different. There's almost, like, literally, I would go to the extent, yes, like, maybe you don't have kids saying the N-word. Because, like, they're getting paid money to play a sport. But even then, I would even say, like, I've been called the N-word on a sideline of a game before. Things like that. Like, I've been, like, from some low-tier kid. Like, some kid has said some shit to me, right? Or, like, you know, the reason I'm angry with myself is very similar. That's why I love tennis, because it was very close to, like, playing, like, a video game. When I played soccer, I remembered I was mad because I was playing against the team with my best friend on it, and my asshole coach said, "You're friends with a loser." It sort of got on my nerves, so I didn't play as well. Okay. But I think that there's so many different, I don't know. Bro, why would he say that? Like, it's like, what? That doesn't make any sense as to why you would say that. Okay. But I don't know. I think a lot of this stuff is super applicable. And while people think it's a different thing entirely, I am of the position that it's not. It's very similar. In this whole, like, A-B scenario to solve physical distraught. Yeah, probably. I don't know. And that's kind of like why I think, like, psychology in this and like video game psychology is, like, very interesting. Because you look on YouTube and again, everybody tries to provide an A/B solution. That's why I think, like, Dr. K does a very good job, right? Because he presents people with, like, the idea that this isn't an A/B solution. This isn't like do this to get this result. It's not like that. And I think that you can apply that to competitive environments. Also, I think it's just an entertaining video because I'll be able to put XQC in it, like slapping a keyboard or something, and it'll be funny. Have you seen out of context Dr. K videos? Yeah, there was a really good one the other day with Asmongold. Actually, I thought it would be on here. I don't know why. In conclusion, specific to this study, although statistical significance was not reached in many areas, this researcher believes there's merit to further okay, yeah, of course. Research further, please. Okay, cool. We got some shit out of that. We got all of our flow state. You know what? I'm going to keep the flow state video because I feel like I might be able to look back at that as a source when I need to. What was this? I don't need life stress. Yeah, I got a lot down. It's just quotes. A lot of it's just quotes. But I think I've read through 3 research papers today, so I've ingested a lot of information. I think the way I'm doing my note taking is that I'm putting quotes down that I think will be like and capture what I think will be like beneficial to the article, right? Like I could easily provide a synopsis to a research paper, but that's not going to be beneficial to a person who plays video games. I don't care about effort-based like tasks, right? I don't care about effort-based tasks and motivation because even though half of that darts article was about it, I care about skills tasks and how low-tier players, not high-tier players, shit like that. I don't know. I think I've been able to find a lot. All right. Wait, which one was the flow state or the shit? Do I still have that up? Hold on, I need to pull that up. And then we get to play video games later, guys. I'm excited. Chill out and play some video games. I'm gonna stay live though. I might just turn off my camera and just like chill and play, talk with you guys, hang out. But I just want to do this first. Figured it might be interesting to some of you guys if you give a shit, but if you don't, I understand. Doesn't appeal to everybody. What's this one? This one we literally just read, so that's what for this source right here. Some of these are just not applicable. Like this one's not applicable, right? Because that one was like just telling me about how boys were more angry than girls. This one I think might have been good. Yeah, this was just a 2-page paper about right? Oh no, it's not. Do I have to buy it? Fuck. Damn, boy. We out of there. Fuck that shit. This is fun, though. I really like this. Because it's a way for me to, like, tease my brain about shit. And I like learning. It's not that I'm against learning. I can tease my brain about shit that I'm actually interested in. You had got me to do this in high school. I might have done a lot better. Is it just the abstract? Wait, no way. It's just the abstract. Where is it? Here we go. Oh, I have to pay for it, dude. Fuck paying for this shit. I have to pay. I know it was effort by a person, but this one provided a lot of good shit, right? The literature review provides theoretical explanations for some popular. Hold on, I don't want to watch too many like.
Everything in the world.
Oh no, I don't want to watch an 8-minute video. Theoretical explanation for some popular common sense belief that little stress improves performance, whereas when stress becomes severe, performance declines and ultimately breaks down. In terms of psychological stress as opposed to be physiological, the single most important variable appears to be the subject's interpretation of the stress-producing stimuli. Increases in adrenaline and non-adrenaline accompany a variety of emotional responses, but differential proportions are not seen as characterizing the various emotions. Noradrenaline secretion appears to be related to physiological stress or the amount of work attempted by the organism. Adrenaline secretion seems to be more directly related to mental stress and emotional response. As emotional involvement increases, adrenal medullary secretion of the adrenaline increases. The accompanying physiological and metabolic responses facilitate performance to this point. However, extremely high levels of arousal may adversely affect the athlete's proficiency. This is especially true of sports requiring steadiness, precision, and concentration. Literally every video game. Finally, the sake of perspective, it should be stated that any contribution or complication created by the catecholamines or whatever the fuck that is minimal when the entire ability range of competitors is considered. Whereas near superhuman feats by ordinary individuals caught in life-threatening situations may have been reported, variations of great magnitude are unlikely in sport. The average individual is not performed into a the average individual is not transformed into a world-class athlete merely by getting an adrenaline flowing. Among athletes, the similar physical stature of physiological function, however, adrenaline and arousal may certainly tip the scale of performance in sport. Like adrenaline doesn't help. And so I think that's really what it comes down to is like stress. Like I can't talk as much about adrenaline as I thought I was going to talk about it. I'm just going to have to talk about stress and like emotion, right? Because like adrenaline doesn't really provide a benefit to us, for us gamers. I mean, it provides a negative. You can't be precise with adrenaline pumping, right? And like so maybe I turned it to more to like a stress talk, kind of talking about a lot of this stuff. I don't know. We'll say this is the video notes. I don't know. Okay. Goddamn chat. We don't need that. All right, give me like a couple minutes, okay? I'll be right back. I'm just gonna use the bathroom. How we doing? How we living? We all right? I washed my hands, don't worry. But yeah, guys, I don't know. Let's pull up my Evernote. I have it there, but I like it. Pull my Evernote. Okay, so do I feel like I understand video game psychology? Okay, well, that's, yeah, okay, cool. That's what we're doing right now. Do I understand adrenaline rushes? I understand competitive sports and pressure. I understand where that pressure comes from, and I understand the ways that pressure is supposed to be handled. See, here's my complication, right? Is at what point am I purely just telling people to go get help versus like actually providing like an interesting video? Like, do I want people to take away anything from the video, or do I just want people to be entertained? And that's really like a decision I have to make. I want people to take away something, but I don't think it needs to be like a direct thing. Like I think like again, I'm gonna use the dude who does the fighting game stuff as like a very good example, okay? Like, cause his stuff is like very like aligns a lot with what I want. He has some things that provide like an actual response, right? Like fighting games for Empty Wallet. He gives you fighting games. But the beauty of clones just talks about like what's cool about them and like what it does that's beneficial to gaming. There's no answer that you pull from this. The stage, he just talks about how well, this like gives you an answer, right? It says like, well, you know what? We need more stages that are interesting. There's that. This gives you an answer. It tells you like what you can take away from like, okay, the fighting games are for everybody. Projectile manipulation, he just says that this should be something that's like used more, which is kind of like, I guess would be like close to what I'm trying to do. Just something that's used more. Use your brain more, gamer. Use your brain more. Like that's literally like kind of what I'm saying. He talks about time in fighting games. Like I don't know. There's I'll have to see how I don't know, because that really will dictate like the way that this is written, right? If I'm writing it in a way that like what can someone like if I'm trying to be like a self-help person, but I'm not. I don't want to. I want to provide it in like an interesting and like fun way, like a funny way. And I think the funny way is a lot more conceptual, where you just say like, "Hey, rage in video games is a thing," you know, and just talk about the thing. And talk about the research behind the thing, but I don't have to talk about the answer to the thing, even though an answer is like good because it helps your video, right? Like posing question, you know, why is this an issue? Why, like, how is this an issue? And then you go like, how does this issue get fixed? That's like the easiest story writing in the world, right? Like, ultimately, I don't know. I just feel weird, because I don't know if that's like legitimately like what I want to do, or if it's like I can get away with something like just saying, yeah, like rage sucks. Just like don't do it. Like I can't. But I don't know if the audience is going to be expecting me to have some sort of answer. Fuck. This is where things get interesting. Because, like, I can look back at my notes, right? And do I feel like I get anything from, do I feel like I get anything from anything that I put down here? Like, choking under pressure, like, again, the only A-B thing that I got out of this, which, again, like, providing a response or an answer to a problem, I feel like has to be A-B. If you're trying to say that you're doing, like, a problem response video, you have to make it as A-B as possible. And, again, I'm not trying to go tell some kid to go get therapy, even though I think that he should, you know? Again, everybody, go get therapy, because this will help you be a better gamer. Being in control of your mind will help you be better of, like, managing situations and meditation and stuff like that. But I'm not trying to sit here and be like, you guys want to be good? Meditate. Like, no, fuck that. Fuck that. Like, it's not funny. It's not fun. Because it's too easy to say. Like, if I did a video on meditation, I had to do an entire video on the benefits of meditation and sports. I can't say, here's the answer to rage meditation. I'd have to talk about, like, the benefits of meditation and competitive video games. Which actually sounds pretty interesting. How meditation can apply to the competitive brain. Hell, maybe try to get a statement or two from Dr. K, Pog U, stuff like that. But yeah, so I don't know. Like, I can't use this. I can't use the, however, in high-pressure situations, participants who are distracted by a secondary task, counting down from 100, outperform subjects solely concentrating on putting the task. I think it'll be funny to try this in the video and see if it actually works, and it probably won't. And they said in the research that it doesn't work if there's an outlying factor. It works if the person's fighting against their own mind. But half the time, you guys aren't fighting against your own mind when you're in a competitive situation. At least I don't think you are. And when I say fighting against your, ultimately everything's fighting against your own mind, right? But when I say fighting against your own mind, I mean like you are embarrassed that someone's going to call you bad. And a majority of the time, I feel like a lot of us are past that, right? You're just worried about doing good or bad, like rather than like someone bullying you. It's like some guy calls me a loser on the internet. I'm not going to be like, fuck, man, I take that to heart. I'm not playing every round of CSGO being like, all right, can't get called a loser this round. No, I don't give a fuck, right? I'm playing every round of CSGO saying, all right, I can't lose this round because if I lose this round, that fucking sucks. And it says, like, this whole counting down doesn't ultimately help if like, there's, like, money involved or any sort of, like, competition, which is we're playing competitive video games. So, like, there's competition. It's like shooting free throws as well. I think they said the people would provide, like, do a lot more poorly when their stress was literally just you know, oh my god, are you gonna evaluate me poorly? So, like, what do I say? Think good? Like, no, come on. It's very weird. As to, like, what I like, the direction I want to take this, and there's a lot of different directions I want to take this. I think flow state, I can put a few lines in there about it, but, like, how do I make this not a meditation video? You know, like, how do I make this not like a yeah. Because I feel like there's so much I can talk about meditation and, like, the benefits of meditation as, like, a person who plays video games and be, like, able to do episodes on it, man. Fuck. But I can't do that, and I also don't want to do that right now. I just want to talk about why raging, like, how does raging work? Why do you rage? I'm sure a lot of you guys know why you rage, but in a different way. Like, you know, why do you rage? I rage because I'm angry. No shit, Sherlock. But, like, what's leading you to rage in those scenarios, right? It's because you feel like you're being outperformed. Because of all of the reasons listed here, right? That this, like, self-focus and this self-pressure, a stressful environment is going to make you perform really poorly. You know? Like, I don't know. Anger within, like, people imitating their favorite players. Or to avoid high levels of frustration, one must possess the ability to brush aside past and move towards the future. Like, we believe that we understand that clutch performers exist, but I'm not trying to tell everybody to tap into their clutch, because that's not how that works, right? Like, generally for everybody here, you're gonna have a negative impact from, like, being stressed. And then the only things that you could do to change that is literally, like I was ranting about better, like before, is just get better at the game. Like, holy fuck. If you being a top tier player and dealing with stress better and being a low tier player and dealing with stress worse, like, you need to practice more. And then I guess that seems like the only logical answer, right? You practice more and you're going to be able to handle those situations better. Which everybody likes to hear, but again, or nobody likes to hear because they want to hear A, B. How do I fix a problem that's wrong right now? How? Please, Dad, how? Like, it's like, no, fuck. I think I understand how adrenaline rushes happen, but it's just like, I guess we kind of decided that our adrenaline doesn't really benefit us here. Like, we just get no substantial benefit to adrenaline, right? Because we're not doing physical attacks or physical attacks, physical things. We're trying to use precision and like cognitive ability, and in adrenaline rushes, those kind of things go away. Like, I think when you freak the fuck out in a video game, it's not because your adrenaline's pumping. It's just because you're stressed out. You're anxious. You're nervous, right? Your butterflies kick in. Sure, it can, like, I guess it can tap into your adrenaline, but it's not an adrenaline rush in the same way, like, near-death experiences will. I don't know, dude. Here. He probably has one on raging, right? Psychological behind gamer rage. Why people tilt since we move all. He has so many of these. Toxicity in video games. Dude, he has so many. Fuck. Let's watch him.
Let me just touch on a couple of things that Twitch chat talks about.
So first of all, I think that there is a correlation between men and alexithymia. Although many women are alexithymic too. I think a lot of it has to do with video gaming. I think that men are conditioned to experience essentially one emotion. We're really only allowed to experience one emotion. And if we experience any other negative emotions, well, one negative emotion, if we experience other negative emotions, we tend to be shamed for it. And I'll let you guys kind of figure out what emotion it is that you think that men are allowed to experience. I think that I agree with Crimson that, it is dumb that men are pressured not to experience an emotion. Absolutely, it's anger, right? And so the funny thing is, even if you think about let's say the example of the person I'm working with who his fiance cheated on him. What do you think his initial emotional reaction was to finding out that his fiance was cheating on him?
Anger,
Absolutely,
probably,
right? He comes into my office and he says, "I'm so pissed off." And the more that you think about it, that feels like a completely normal, everyone can identify and relate to that, right? To feel pissed off. But underneath, he's feeling all kinds of other things. Will I ever be able to trust someone again? Is there, there are also other things that he's feeling, which it takes a while to get to, which is there something about me which is broken and busted? Is there something about me which makes it so that is there something that I'm doing wrong which caused her to cheat? Am I not good enough? Those are all the things that are underneath anger, but that's not what he feels. The first thing that he feels is pissed off. And so this is true of gamers as well, where and now we kind of get to we come full circle. So we come full circle, and we kind of get to toxicity in gaming. So why is it that gamers are so toxic and there's so much toxicity in gaming? It's because the main emotion that most gamers let themselves
makes
feel
so much noise.
is anger. Anger is a very reasonable emotion to have, but there are also a lot of other emotions that kind of
And again,
swim
anger
beneath
can be
the
quantified
surface.
as annoyance, right? But that doesn't really explain what I need it to explain. Maybe this one does.
So now we're going to talk about gaming, okay? So let's just think about what effect does gaming... Okay, I'm going to interact a little bit with chat on this one, okay? What effect does gaming have on the mind? What does gaming do to your mind? Okay, so I'm seeing a lot of different stuff, right? Great. So some people are saying focus, some people are saying distraction. So when you are
okay.
playing a game,
Can you guys hear it okay?
is your mind thinking about a lot of things
Pretty
or
quiet.
thinking about one thing?
It's like one thing.
Dopamine and neuroscience, we're not talking about any of that right now. We're just talking about understanding literally what is happening in your mind in a moment. Is it focused or is it wavering? And people are
It's
saying
focused.
depends, right? People are saying escape. So let's just think about that. The reason it is an escape is because your mind doesn't want to think about this. And when I play a game, I get lost in the game. I get focused in the game. So this is important. Video games create an artificial or not an artificial.
Ultra focus in League.
They concentrate
bud.
your mind on the game.
Nice, bro.
And remember, what does a concentrated mind do? It makes a concentrated mind is enjoyable and relaxed. Right? So your mind really, really enjoys gaming because gaming is an artificial sort of induction of a dharana. It's almost like a dharana. It focuses your mind and then you can forget about everything else. And that feels really good because it feels good to have a concentrated mind. Now let's think through a couple of examples in gaming where your mind wavers in its concentration, and let's see what impact it has on the enjoyment. So let's say that I'm playing the game. Let's say I'm playing a game of Overwatch, and I'm just focusing on I'm playing Reinhardt, and I'm focusing on just blocking people's. I'm focusing on shielding whatever thing is moving. Actually, let's forget about Overwatch.
Okay, nice.
My mind isn't with the analogies well enough. Okay, so let's talk about Dota. So if I'm playing a game of Dota, let's say Yeah, because I just can't compute the analogies. So if I'm playing a game of Dota, like I'm focused on winning my lane, right? And I'm like super focused on winning my lane. I'm having fun. And then someone like TPs down to my lane and feeds. And then what does my mind do?
Focuses
Right?
on the other thing.
If I start thinking,
Right? So like, I think ultimately he's gonna say, that we're focusing on other shit, and then you start to get angry, and then you're like tilted because you're not able to focus on the game, and it just spirals out of control, right? So what do I say? In my video, do I say, you know what? You need to just chill the fuck out. You got a better master of your flow state, and your flow state literally comes from meditation, and I tell everybody to go meditate.
Thinking about what someone else is doing in the game, then I start to rage or tilt, right? That's true of all games. So forget about which one. But let's just think about, at that point, what is my mind actually thinking about? It's not thinking about the game, it's thinking about this other person. And the more that I think about my teammates, what does that do to my enjoyment of the game? It drops like a fucking lodestone. The more that I just play the game, if I'm playing the game and I'm like, let's see what we can do.
You just gotta focus on yourself. You just gotta focus on yourself. That's really what it comes down to.
Then my enjoyment of the game goes down, right? And I can kind of like fluctuate. Like my mind is like, oh, this guy's a retard. This guy's an idiot.
Oh, we can't say that anymore.
This guy's doing that. And then my enjoyment of the game goes down. And then when I start thinking about, like, if I just play the game, like, so I know you guys have done this because everyone has done this, right? Where you play the game and then you have someone on your team who's bad, but you don't really think about that. You're like, okay, this guy's going to show up and he's going to die. But, like, I'm just going to play the game and we can still win. And the more that you focus on the game, and, like, there are people that die, and whether you're playing Overwatch or Dota, they're noobs that are dying, like, all the time. In any game, there are going to be noobs that are dying. So why is it that one game you rage and one game you don't? It's because in one game, your concentration or your focus remains on the game.
Right.
And on the other one, your concentration dissipates and it starts to think about other people. So as long as you focus your attention on one thing and just play the game, then your performance improves, your enjoyment improves, and it's just an overall better experience. And people know that, right? So like when you mute your allies, what is that doing for your mind? It is literally helping your mind retain focus on the game. And if you mute your allies, you are going to have a better game.
Ultimately, yeah.
And like, so this is what I'm trying to tell you guys, is that the mind works in this way. Like if let's say like I'm having a great meal that I really enjoy. Like let's say I go to a sports bar and I'm having some wings and I'm watching like UT football. And then like someone comes in and starts playing the bagpipes. Like that's not going to be a fun experience for me. If I can mute the bagpipes, I'm going to like go back to like enjoying the game.
Ooh,
but
wings.
The more that your mind is focused, not
yeah, okay. So he's saying the same thing. He's just saying like that might be like a good A/B situation for people. Literally, if you're playing a low tier competitive game, there is no benefit you get out of communication with your teammates. Like no inherent benefit, like weighing the negatives, right? And the negatives being like some guy being an asshole. So literally, it's probably just better off. Like in pretty much every MOBA that I've played, I turn off enemy communication. Like League, I turned off enemy communication. I even turn off ally communication. Or no, I keep ally communication on. In CS:GO or anything like that, I would turn off chat so you can't see it. It doesn't involve you. And I think honestly, just muting teammates. Like what as in a silver game, Grayson? Can you tell me that there's anything that's beneficial about like, have you do you think it's just better to like mute, or do you think it would just be better to like, or because I know you don't mute, but like, do you think it would just be ultimately better to mute? I think it's ultimately just better to mute because you personally would have a much better game, and if you're the one that's carrying, you just focus on your own game. You know what I mean? You mute all, and then you say shit in chat. You could just be like, "Hey, we go here." And you use your other sources. Because I remember doing that when I was playing like when I was grinding my solo stuff. I would mute people because it'd be like, I'm just going to focus on my own thing. And I don't want to deal with people yelling at me. Because the second someone like I could do it when someone starts yelling at me. But honestly, like, I say read the room and then mute accordingly. Like, yes, callouts can be nice, but inherently, I think, because like the second the damage is done, it's done. Like, like the second some guy says something rude, you can mute him then, but you're already thrown off. That's how I feel. I think just ultimately it's just like you're going to see so much inherent benefit from just not listening to anybody at a low level than you would from listening to a few minor callouts that are not going to be crazy. You just play your own game and like, I don't know, see what that gives. I don't know, like, because yes, I agree, like callouts are nice, and like I'm trying to think of like a Counter-Strike game without callouts, and that would kind of suck. But also like half of the games you don't get callouts, right? 95% of the games you don't get callouts, so you're already on your own, and like the only thing that anybody would be saying is like go B, and you could see that the second. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like, I mean, ultimately, like that's the only thing that I could see like being the issue, right? Is like you're either not in control enough of your own mind, because that's why you're raging in the first place, or that's why you're frustrated in the first place, and that's why you're not. That's why you're not winning, right? Because you're so focused on what your teammates are doing rather than what you're doing. And if you're not worried about your teammates at all, then you're not listening to them. Like, so it's fine, Like I don't know if there's like another situation. Like, because I feel like you're saying, like, if people are really fucking with your mind, then, like, I'm not trying to talk about just someone saying something to you. I don't know how to explain it. I feel like there's so much more to it. Someone making a bad play, right? Like, you're going to be more inclined. Like, if you just remove that aspect of anybody else is with you, then you just do what you do. And you kind of, like, look at the map, and that way you can follow up. But you're going to play so much of a better game because you'll be so much more focused. I don't know. Right, because you're trying to increase the ability for your flow state. Having a hard time getting a good topic and thesis for the video. Still working on it, though. But, like, are callouts really going to be that much clutch in, like, a silver level game? Like, that's what I'm trying to say. Is like, yes, callouts are the greatest thing to come to competitive video games and obviously provide so much more inherent benefit. And thanks, Stick. Thanks, Six. I'm actually planning on it. But like they provide so much inherent benefit. Sure, I'm not denying that. But in a silver tier game, how often are the callouts going to be clutch? 1, 2, hell, maybe 3 rounds. Sure, those are 3 rounds you could win, but like you could make those 3 rounds back without it. That's what I'm trying to say. It's like there's so much benefit. It's like, I don't know. There's net negatives to having your voice on, and sure, there's net negatives having your voice off, but at a low level, those net negatives are like very minimized because you're at a low level. Like you're taking into account that you're in silver, right? And like